And, I look forward to hearing everybody's point of view, everybody's opinion on Dr. King. And, just trying to ask a general question. Are we better off since his death? Is a black race, and here in America, black people, are we better off since the death of Dr. King? Are we better off as a people? We know how instrumental he and so many of the civil rights leaders were. So we just generally just want to have a discussion tonight, almost a town hall about the actual what's going on in Black America, and are we better off as a people as well too since his death back in 1968? Ray, how you doing tonight?
What's up, y'all? What's everybody doing?
We doing pretty good, man. We doing pretty good. We're gonna start this thing up in just a second. Just letting some of the people come up into space as well tonight. So plan on having a very interesting dialogue. Like I said, I had thought about adding some other topics, but then I felt like, hey, we do topics, sometimes multiple topics, and sometimes we do just one topic in a space. And if we can just do one topic in a space, we can just definitely do, you know, give Dr. King his give him his due and stuff like that. So let me give a shout out to my girl Diane Scott, also on YouTube as well too. Diane, how you doing, sister? Glad to see you up in the actual YouTube. Make sure you share it out with people on and YouTube as well too. I see Tony, she's up in here. Tony, I know you step up in here for a minute. Sometimes I know you're probably busy, sister, but I'm glad to have you up in here. Like I say, for y'all that have to leave early or whatever, we record it. So if you can't catch it all, then you can definitely catch it all on the record. So definitely thank you to all you guys coming up in here. I'm gonna just let a few more of our people come up in here before we actually start. We're gonna just touch upon an article that has some famous MLK quotes, as well as a different spin on the "I Have a Dream" speech. I know a lot of us we feel like the "I Have a Dream" speech was definitely not his most powerful speech, but there's a different point of view I guess some people have about it as well too. So I want to just share their opinion on the "I Have a Dream" speech. Definitely, in my personal opinion, from the war and poverty and everything else, he covered, he covered things a lot deeper than just "I have a dream." But I understand the exact actual connotation behind it as well too, and I understand what some people feel like, hey, how powerful it was and how it resonates today. So I'm gonna cover that as well too, and anybody that wants to talk in the space as well too, we're definitely interested to hear what you guys think about about the impact of Dr. King on the Black community, and how is the Black community today since his death? Have we progressed as a people? Have we become stagnant, or have we fallen behind? Just interesting to hear everybody, their point of view, their opinion, exactly how they feel about it, as a group. I think you can make a point in case either way. There have been some gains and there have been some losses as well too since his death. I definitely think that and I welcome, different points of views as well too. I want to hear what people have to say as well too. I definitely respect everything that Dr. King did for the Black community, and his impact is felt not just in this country, but it's felt global. Like you can make a case that he's the most impactful Black person, in American history. I know we've had stars and stuff in terms of entertainers and things of that nature. That popularity could rival him. I guess you could say Michael Jackson's actual popularity could rival anybody that ever lived. But just in terms of how impactful he was, the type of legislation that got passed because of him, I think you can make a case and point that he was perhaps the most influential Black person to ever live in America. So, I just want to hear varying views, and I know some people are not big Martin Luther King fans as well too. So, you may have some people coming in here tonight and disagreeing with what the room thinks. You may have some people saying that, hey, it wasn't this or that or whatever. So at the same time, we're gonna let people come up here and state what they feel and just say what they feel and whatnot. So, we're gonna go ahead and just start this thing up in just a second. I'm giving a few more people a chance to come up in here before we actually get it rolling. But we are definitely gonna go ahead and get this thing started in just a second. Like I say, if anybody wants to speak, by all means, come on up here and speak as well too. So we definitely look forward to hearing everybody's point of view. We're gonna respect people's point of view. We may not agree with it, you may not like it, but I'm gonna go ahead and give people a chance to actually speak on the mic as well too. I see my man Original up in here as well too. So Original, I definitely want to hear what you got to say on this topic as well tonight. So, Ray, how's the reception? Can you guys hear me pretty clear in here?
Yeah, brother, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay, all right. So I think I may go ahead and our people, they can come in and they can listen and get caught up on it. And like I say, we don't really need no articles, but I'm gonna just touch up on a couple of them. We really don't need any articles to talk about Dr. King. Anybody, like I said, that has an opinion that wants to state, even in the comments, leave comments. Tell us how you feel as well too. I know a lot of times our comments sometimes it's not that many, and sometimes they blow up, but sometimes just leave a comment on what you think in terms of his death, how we've been doing as black people. I see my man Black Pressure up in the spot as well too. So Ray, I'm gonna touch up on a couple of these articles real quick. If somebody requests to speak, go ahead because I won't see it. I'm gonna actually go to the actual sites. I put them up in the actual jumbotron. They were curated on Newstoter.com platform. So I put them up in the jumbotron. You guys can go ahead and read that, share it, or whatever you want to do. Let me go ahead and touch up on this and get the ball rolling real quick. And the first one I want to touch up on, of course, is you know what? I'll go to the quotes, some of his famous quotes. This is from the DefenderNetwork.com, Defender out of Texas, curated on the Newstoter.com platform. And it's up in the Jumbotron as well, too. It says, most people know Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for his civil rights, but just as strongly as he fought during the civil rights movement, he was adamant in his opposition to poverty. Before his assassination in 1968, Dr. King was organizing the Poor People's March on Washington as part of his larger Poor People's Campaign that would fight for economic justice and equality for the poor in the United States. Here are just some of his popular quotes on the U.S. and global poverty and the importance of eradication. As long as there's poverty in this world, no man can be totally rich, even if he has $1 billion. Dr. King, The American Dream speech, 1961. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Dr. King, letter from Birmingham City Jail, 1963. A second evil which plagues the modern world is that of poverty. Like a monstrous octopus, it projects its nagging tentacles in the lands and villages all over the world. Almost 2/3 of the people of the world go to bed hungry at night. They are undernourished, ill-housed, and shabbily clad. Many of them have no houses or bed to sleep in. Their only beds are the sidewalks of the cities and the dusty roads of the villages. Most of these poverty-stricken children of God have never seen a physician or a dentist. Dr. King, Nobel Peace Prize address, 1964. There's nothing new about poverty. What is new, however, is that we have the resources to get rid of it. Dr. King, Nobel Peace Prize address, 1964. The rich nations must use their vast resources of wealth to develop the underdeveloped, school the unschooled, the fed or the unfed. Ultimately, a great nation is a compassionate nation. No individual or nation can be great if it does not have a concern for the least of these. Dr. King, Nobel Peace Prize, 1964. The time is always right to do what is right. Dr. King, Oberlin College, commencement speech, 1965. While millions enjoy in unexampled opulence in the developed nation, tens of thousands of people die hungry each year and every day of the year in the undeveloped world. Dr. King, Let My People Go speech, 1965. The time has come for us to civilize ourselves by the total, direct, and immediate abolition of poverty. Dr. King, where do we go from here? Chaos of Community, 1967. I want to touch up real quick also on the actual I Have a Dream speech and the way that this is from the Atlanta Voice, and I think CNN, they curated from CNN, is also curated from the Newstoter.com platform. But this is their opinion on the actual I Have a Dream speech. And I found it funny that they consider it to be his most radical speech. And I read and I understand what they're saying. I still disagree with that it's his most radical speech, but I do understand what they're trying to say and trying to point to. I Have a Dream is MLK's most radical speech, not because of what he said, but because how America has changed since. Like I say, this is from the Atlanta Voice, who curated from CNN, also curated on Newstoter.com platform. It has been called the moment that changed everything, the day America turned the mystic corner, and the greatest political speech of the 20th century. As a nation celebrates the Reverend Dr. King national holiday tomorrow, millions of America will once again hear what has become the nation's unofficial soundtrack. King's I Have a Dream speech. The speech King gave 60 years ago in Washington has been endlessly replayed, dissected, and misquoted. It is his most famous speech, but here's another way to look at it. It is also the most radical speech King ever delivered. That declaration might sound like sacrilege to those who point to King's thunderous takedowns of war, poverty, and capitalism in other sermons, but I Have a Dream has arguably become his most radical speech, not because of what he said, but because how America has changed since that day. Forget the non threatening version of the speech you've been taught that emphasizes King's benign vision of black, white, and brown Americans living blissful racial harmony. The core concept in King's dream is racial integration, and it still terrifies many people 60 years later. Integration is too threatening to the status quo to ever consider fully, says Calvin Baker, author of A More Perfect Reunion, Race, Integration, and the Future of America. The concept of integration that King evoked in his I Have a Dream speech is the most radical, discomforting, and transformative idea in U.S. politics, adds Baker, a novelist and professor at Skidmore College in Saratoga Springs, New York. It's a thing the mainstream fears the most, he says. It's a beautiful speech. It's descriptive of integration. It sounds really good. And then you understand, woo, the work that's required. This is a tragic irony behind King's holiday. Millions of Americans applaud the vision of integration he depicts in I Have a Dream, but many of America's schools, churches, neighborhoods remain racially segregated today. A racial status quo that people on both the left and right have come to accept. It seems like an overstatement. Consider this. When was the last time you heard a prominent religious or political leader use the term integration while talking about solutions for racial injustice? To King, integration meant sharing power, not just space. To understand why King's message is so radical, it's good to hear when he evoked integration at the climax of his speech. At first glance, the answer seems to be for physical closeness. In his speech, King declared he dreamed of a day when the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners were able to sit down together at a table of brotherhood. But King didn't just preach that all Americans should be able to sit down at a table, historians say. He also said they should have an equal chance at getting a slice of the economic pie being served. What does it mean? What does a profit? What does a profit a man to be able to eat at an integrated lunch counter if he doesn't earn enough to buy a hamburger or a cup of coffee? King once said. Historians say King never saw integration as assimilation, urging people of color to act like white people. He didn't have in mind romantic mixing of colors or what I would call a kind of rubbing shoulders and elbows approach to integration, says Lewis Baldwin, author of The Arc of Truth, The Thinking of Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King meant mutual acceptance, interpersonal living, and shared power. The power part is what often gets edited out during the ritualistic replays of King's speech. There's an economic component of King's dream that's hardly ever mentioned. The original title of the August 28, 1963 event, for example, was the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Integration is not just hanging out together. It's having access to credit. It's seeing the value of your home increase. It's accumulating wealth, says Leonard Steinholm, co-author of By the Color of Our Skin, The Illusion of Integration and the Reality of Race. It involves employment, quality education, and all things together. So yeah, I just found that, like I say, I did find that a little bit fascinating. And the author, they went in to kind of explain their points or why they felt like I Have a Dream was, his most radical speech. I disagree with that. I've heard a number of other speeches. I understand what they were saying, because whenever people talk about the March on Washington, oftentimes the actual thing about the jobs and everything else is left out. And it seems like the speech is about social integration, which I understand that it wasn't about social integration. It was much deeper and it was much more important than what we hear about. So it's also one of the safest speeches when you can slice it and dice it up. It's something that mainstream America uses as a way to kind of, go ahead and sugarcoat Dr. King, because Dr. King, we know towards the end of his life, definitely he was he was giving off a lot of steam. He was upset about a lot of things with the war and the economic situation. A lot of people felt that he was taken out because of the economic aspect that he wanted to go ahead and talk about as well too. Dr. King was looking to we talk about cutting that check and everything like that. Dr. King had some of his Democratic allies had become his enemies, especially President Lyndon B. Johnson, because his criticism of the actual Vietnam War as well too. Let me give a shout out to some of my people in here, Ray. I'm gonna get to you real quick. I see my host DJ's up in here. Give a shout out to Professor, Black Majority State. I see Rella. I see Trouble. I see Christina. I see a bunch of people coming up in here. So yeah, guys, we plan on having a pretty nice space tonight. I know Rella was covering this topic as well too. So shout out to her. She was covering the other day. So yeah, we just it's basically a town hall about actually the state of affairs also in Black America as well too, since the death of Dr. Martin Luther King, and are we better off since his death? I know we've made some strides, and I don't know if we could. I know a lot of times our people say, well, we still haven't made. Well, we have made some strides. We have made some strides. Those strides are minimal. Those strides are small. They're not where they need to be. And if Dr. King was alive, I can't personally speak and say what the man would have said, but I definitely would feel that he would still think there was much, much more work that needed to be done, and he would not be totally satisfied where our standing and position is in America to this day. So I definitely feel that point as well too. So like I say, shout out to all you guys that's coming up in the space as well too. Please go ahead and tweet the space out as well too. Please tweet it out. And I look forward to hearing everybody's point of view. I know some people, and I'm just going to let everybody know, you may have some people come in this space that may actually say some things that may get underneath people's skin. We're going to allow them to speak. Let's not come off our mics. Let's go ahead and let people speak. Like I say, everybody's entitled to their opinion. We might not agree with them. There's going to be a lot of varying points of views, and some people, it may not even be about Dr. King. It just be about the state of affairs with Black Americans and stuff. You're going to definitely probably have some people say, that we're worse off, since he died and this and that, or the civil rights and do this or do that. People are entitled to their opinion, y'all. We're going to have a professional space tonight, and we're going to have one out of respect as well, too. So everybody show discipline tonight. Show some discipline. Ray, go ahead. You got to unmute your mic.
Man, news, you basically took all the points I was just about to make about Dr. King. But I'm going to try my best to not repeat what you just said. But, obviously, we got off today. Again, that just depends on how you want to look at it. Some people are very happy, working a 9 to 5 and just coming home. So it just depends on, the person you're dealing with. I speak for myself. I'm very grateful for Dr. King. I'm very grateful for Malcolm, because his brother sacrificed a lot, more than, I want to say the average person would be willing to sacrifice. Because, some people don't know, Dr. King's brother was an avid swimmer. After Dr. King was assassinated, his brother was drowned in a pool, or found drowned in a pool. And his mother, Alberta King, she was in church playing the organ, and someone that was associated with the Hebrew Israelites went and shot the poor woman. Shot her to death right there in her house. In her church. So, his brother sacrificed a lot. Malcolm X's family was targeted. Obviously, his grandson was found deceased in Mexico. These brothers, they gave a lot, not just the family Hamers and all these other people too. They gave a lot. Man. So, I definitely want to give, some props for it. Props here to go, man. I land there.
Absolutely, Ray. And I definitely didn't mean to take any of your talking points, though, brother. But definitely glad to hear your point of view as well, too. And like I said, man, it's going to be varying points of views and stuff like that. And I think you can also have a point of view where you think, hey, we have made some strides and stuff like that. But at the same time, we kind of got duped or whatever during the civil rights movement as well, too. So there's so many different points of views, and I look forward to hearing everybody's point of view as well, too, their opinion. Just, I say, go ahead if you want to talk, go ahead and request a mic, and we will definitely go ahead and give it to you as well, too. So I see my brother's Original and Professor up here as well, too. So I definitely love hearing these brothers speak as well, too. So Original, you got it, then Professor. Original, you scratching right there. Yeah, we can hear you, but your mic is kind of muffled. You may want to come out and then come back in. Yeah, Professor, go ahead until he goes ahead, and we'll get back to Original when he comes back.
All right, thank you so much, and of course, we definitely want to hear what Brother Original have to say, because when he comes into this space, he teaches us, man. He teaches us stuff that we don't know, and that's why I love listening to him. Um, I just want to say peace, power, and reparation to everybody in the space. Newstoter, always good to see you, brother. By the way, it's Aquarius season for you and I, man, because we got these birthdays coming up.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. So, and then Ray, man, good to see you, brother. DJ, Christina, sister up in here. Uh, there's Sister Rilla right there, Sister Trouble. Beware. This is not Bobo. Good to see you, brother. Everybody in the space, man. It's good to see you all. Black Majority. Good to see you, brother, and Sister Tony. Um, Let me say this to everybody. MLK, what he represents to me, he represents education. He represents uplifting. He represents encouragement. Yes, the brother maybe did some things that were somewhat controversial back then, as far as trying to assimilate, because there was a lot of our people that didn't want him to go that route with assimilation or with integration, I should say. But he, at the time, was doing what he thought was best to have us incorporated into American society the best way that he knew how at the time. But let me say this, y'all, because I have been one that has sometimes been critical of Dr. King, but I did it in the sense of what he said himself in his last interview. I think it was the last interview in 1967, where he realized he had led his people into a burning house. So remember, when you hear people say that they were kind of somewhat critical of what he did back then, it's because he even said himself that he knew he had led us into a burning house. So with that being said, he still did a lot to bring recognition to our issue across the globe. That was very important because he had our names everywhere. Remember, this brother won the Nobel Peace Prize. So the name Black American or Negro was everywhere. Everywhere across the globe, people knew what our issue and struggle was because of Dr. King. And, well, also because of Brother Malcolm X. This is why today, y'all, we have to keep moving forward with what we are trying to do here. We can't stop. I know we get discouraged. I know we get into these arguments. But we know that we have to do this for the people that went before us because so much blood has been shed. Okay? So much blood has been shed. So we know there's going to be people that's going to want to target us because of what we're trying to get done here. But this brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., spoke on cut the checks because he knew that at the end of the day, our people needed economic power. This is what we have to have, everybody. So this is why we have to go hard for reparations. And that's what I want us to take out of this, what Dr. King was trying to do at the end of his life before they killed him. He was trying to lead us in a path. Hey, yes, I was talking about integration at the beginning, but now I know that my people really need economic power in this nation to move forward. And that's why we got to do it, because that's what he was trying to go to. So I will land my plane there. I think Original is back.
Real quick, Professor, before you leave, I have to ask you this. Do you think we're better off today since his death?
I think we're not better off. No, I don't think we are better off, everybody. I think we have made some strides. I think we have done some great things. No, we've done a lot of great things. Let me just say that. But we know that we also have been put in a trap to keep us from continuing to expand and to continue to grow. We know that white supremacy has done all it can to keep us from being able to expand where we need to go. And see, that's why they killed Dr. King and Malcolm X, because they didn't want those two brothers to come together in unity. Remember, the biggest fear of the white supremacists out here is black unity. The biggest fear, especially black men coming together in unity to lead the people to the promised land. And when I'm talking about the promised land, y'all, I'm speaking of like what Moses was doing when he was leading the people to where he had to lead them, where God said, hey, Moses, you need to lead my people out of Egypt. And see, that's why these demonic white supremacists killed our two leaders, our two great leaders, that's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, because they was trying to stop them from leading us out of this mess that we call white supremacy in America. But we are going to carry on what the two brothers were trying to do or trying to complete. So Newstoter, no, we are not better off, but we have gotten some great things done in this nation, despite how people have tried to stop us from being able to grow, man. And we're not going to stop there. We're going to keep going. I want all my people in this space tonight to be encouraged, be uplifted. Remember, if you know anything about the story of Moses as he was going through his journey, trying to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, remember, he kept going back to that no good Pharaoh, telling him to let my people go. And all he would ever do was harden his heart. All he ever do said, Moses, I'm not going to let your people go. But every time he said something to Moses about, hey, I'm going to do this to your people, it got turned around on him. And his people ended up dying. Those Egyptians lost their firstborns. Do y'all remember that story? That's why I'm trying to tell you that these white supremacists are out here trying to do everything they can to stop Black America. But it's going to get flipped around on them because they're being low down and demonic, and it's not going to work. I just want to say thank you for the time, Newstoter. I'm going to land my plane right there. Brother Original, man, I'm ready to hear you, bro.
All right. Yeah, tomorrow, y'all, I put the actual space in there for tomorrow night as well, too. I already went ahead and that space tomorrow is going to be talking about the topic is going to be Yvette Carnell, Hunter Biden, and Mark Lamont Hill. So y'all make sure y'all tune in 8 o'clock tomorrow night as we discuss that as well, too. So let's go ahead and get to you, Original. I know you had some issues before. Shout out. I see my sister Black Native was up in here. She done changed her profile up again on us, but that's okay. Go ahead, Original. You got it.
Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound good, bro. You sound good.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, the issue. Yeah, I've been trying to send out this file, and I'm gonna keep trying. See, I have an MP3 file of Dr. King. It was a speech that he gave, and I think it was in January the year before he was murdered. And the speech is called "What is Your New Year's Resolution?" And in that speech, he is telling Black people to accept themselves for who they are. He said, "Ain't nothing wrong with your lips, ain't nothing wrong with your skin." And he said that one other thing he said, hair that is straight is like that of the monkey or the gorilla. And hair that is not straight is removed from that. So what he's telling Black folks is, look, you are human. These other people, they're animals. That's basically what he's saying. And he said, I got good hair. He said, nothing wrong with my hair. He said, I just brushed it a little bit. He said, I got good hair. And so I've been trying to share that, but for some reason, it's not going through. So I may have to end up, if anybody still have a CD player or an external CD player where they can, I might have to mail it out or something, I don't know. but I've been trying to share that because I think that's a message that all of us need to hear so that we can see exactly the direction that Dr. King was going in. Because when you're telling people to accept themselves for who they are, that right there is, oh, that's serious. He was letting us know there is nothing wrong with us. It's these crazy fools we have to interact with. Something wrong with them. And as far as like, are we better off? I know we still have some issues, but considering the position that we were in at that point in time, I'm just gonna say, yeah, we are better off. But now we still got. There are still some issues, and I think because when Dr. King, when they murdered Dr. King, and a number of the people who were around him, they somewhat, sold us out, and they stifled our progress because, and I think one of the reasons was because we believed in them because they were Dr. King's friends and they worked with him, and we thought they would do right by us, but unfortunately, in hindsight, we see they did more to hurt us basically than some of the white folks did, and so that just has to be acknowledged because prior to Dr. King, not a lot of black people own homes. Some had cars and other things, but we had very little, when Dr. King was, fighting that fight. And so I don't criticize him because he did not have a blueprint to do what he did. They was just going by this, they was doing this, I get you, like somewhat off the cuff, but they were organized in doing so, And so I just think that when I look at what the people were fighting for during that time period and where they were, some was in certain schools and whatever, but I just feel that if we had more committed people, if more committed people had been with him, I think we would have been better off because, it's like the professor said, we still have a lot of work to do, and there are some strides that have to be made. But considering where people were, and like he said, he think he has integrated us into a burning house. And but I just say that that's all I say. Considering where we were, I think we are somewhat. I said we are somewhat better off because black people was catching hell back then. You had still, and they're still doing it now, but it's not at the rate that it was back then, whereby some of the penalty laws were still were still in effect with some places in the South, even though they had abolished them, but there were still black folks being picked up off the street and locked up for nothing, So I'm looking at it kind of like an overall thing, and I think considering where we were at that time period, I think there's a great deal for us to be thankful for what he did for us, and I'll land with that.
All right, appreciate that, brother. One of our people on YouTube, Fast Pace, says no, we're not better off. So that's Fast Pace's opinion that we're not better off. I'm gonna go ahead and Riviera, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it to you, and then Black Native, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay, wow. I can follow up after that. I'll keep it simple. I'll try to be as concise as possible.
Hey, Riviera, is it possible to turn the volume up a little bit on where you're at? We can hear you, but you're a little low.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Pretty much about the same, but go ahead.
Okay. Let's try this. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you sound a little bit louder, a little bit clearer.
Okay. Yeah, I was using a Bluetooth speaker. I'll cut this sucker off. So, I read an article. I don't know if somebody wrote an essay or an article about Dr. King is supposed to be
Vietnam War.
Yeah, you really, brother, you really low. Yeah, you Riviera, you really low, but go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, but your volume sounds really low. So, but I can hear you, but you're really low.
I think I can adjust the mic on here, man.
Yeah, I don't know if it's any way you can turn the volume up or anything like that, but it's low. But go ahead though, still go ahead.
Okay.
Better. I can hear you better now, clearer. Definitely. Go ahead.
Okay. So I guess let me turn my speaking voice up in my Marine Corps yelling voice. So I read an article about Dr. King's stance on the Vietnam War. And what I was going to say was before I get into this, and like I said, I'll try to be quick. No, I don't believe that. I mean, I don't wish death on anybody. I think it would be great if he stayed alive. But his view was that we should have negotiated outside the war before sending people over, right? If you think about it, 20, 30 years before we had World War I, we had World War II, and then we had Korea. Black people served in all of these. We had a minimal, I mean, outside the hard fighters in World War I, we didn't really have a large play in those wars, and it's good that we didn't because we all came home and treated like jack shit. So when we think about Vietnam, we think about, okay, the civil rights movement was 1964, 65. Now blacks can join the military and serve. And I think even Korea is kind of the same thing. So Vietnam really set the plays. If we didn't have that civil rights movement, I think that they would have needed us either way. One of the things that me and a buddy of mine were always talking about was, honestly, war creates money, creates industry, and it's for white folk. You don't see a lot of black people getting, I mean, especially back then, getting the, oh man, those government contracts, right? Mostly it was white folk getting those government contracts. So that creates industry for building rifles, Colt manufacturing, people who make explosives, et cetera, et cetera. But you got to send people to war to go do that, right? Because that's where taxpayers' money comes in. And why not send more niggas, right? And let's put them on the front line. They want to be on the front line so bad. Let's put these niggas on the front line. And what we're seeing is a common theme going forward. I don't want to just make it about war, but I think that would have changed the game a little bit as far as how white America viewed us. I had another point I wanted to make, and I kind of lost it because, like I said, I don't know. I couldn't really go after that. I was listening to Original's points, and it was really good. But I guess my point is had it not been for, let me say the right thing, because I'm going to drop here. I think that if we didn't have the Civil Rights Act, Civil Rights Movement, probably still would have been all right. That's the point I was going to try to make it in the most simplest way possible. I don't think there would have been any issue because they obviously needed body bags to be filled, and they didn't want to put any more whiteboards in those body bags. And that was the point of me bringing out World War I, World War II. It's an obvious bloodbath, and the majority of those people that died were white. So I think that America had enough, and that was only like 20 years. And they were ready to just send the niggas at basically putting the noose right back around our necks again, but under the guise of, oh, now you're Negroes. So I don't think there would have been any issue. No, I don't.
So, in your estimation, then, what are we better off after his death, or yes or no?
I don't think so. No. I think it would have been the same either way, with or without the Civil Rights Movement.
Okay, I appreciate that, Rivera. Let me go ahead and get to Black Native, and then I'm gonna get to this is not Volvo, so Black Native, how you doing today?
Had to take a sip of water. Um, yeah, earlier today, a brother was playing up into the mountain, um, death speech, and it always like brings me to tears because that's literally, I think that was his last speech before he was assassinated the next day. In that speech, at the end, when he said, "I'm not fearing any man," you know what I'm saying? He was like he knew. I guess it was coming, and not too many people in today would die for a group of people like that because he put his life on the line. Every day he went out to protest. He's been arrested several times. Um, Somebody in the space noticed that he was always well dressed. You know, he tried to look the part. So I respect the man for that. And it was another interview that the brother played. I had requested to hear it when he was saying, "I believe I led my people into a burning house." In that interview, he got deep, and I never heard Martin Luther King speak like that. He spoke about why he decided to do nonviolence. He said it was because of morals, and also he knew that we didn't have the numbers and we didn't have the weapons. He said it was 10 or 11%. We were 10 or 11% of the population. We didn't have the firepower to go up against white people. So he knew this. So I guess he felt like, hey, if I try to set it off, I'm bringing my people to slaughter. And we didn't have the numbers. So, I respected him for that because, we would watch the videos of them getting bit by whole water dogs and bopped upside the head and spit on. And we like, yo, if that was us, man, and they still do it. We'll fight back, but we ain't really popping off, to be honest with you. But I respected him for that because I never knew why he decided to take that route. And he also spoke about, the ghettos in New York. They called it the Negro ghettos up north. And he was saying that, New York was just as segregated, but it was hidden more so where the South was more in your face. And that's true coming from New York. I mean, that's one of the most segregated cities on the planet, but they try to say it's a melting pot only because it's so many different nations, but each nation lives in their own communities. So, listening to that interview, it gave me a different outlook on him. He sounded more radical, and that was in 1967. So I think he started changing. His mind started changing. And what Original said, I wish he could find that where he was saying how black hair was human hair and white hair was dog hair or ape hair. I want to hear him say that. But as far as today, are we better off? I would say no. And the reason is the only thing that I believe the civil rights movement has done was segregate us. So, but we've always had our own HSBCUs, which we still have today. We had more businesses, actually, black-owned businesses than we do now. And I disagree with Original as far as home ownership. Back then, pretty much our grandparents owned their own homes back then, and it was easier to get a home back then than it is now. So, only thing I could see is that we are integrated, but during the integrating into what we thought would be better, more beneficial for us, it actually stripped our I would say culture and stripped away our unity. Because I remember when we had black owned beauty supplies and we very rarely could see it. We're trying to come back, but we've lost a lot that we had because we had no choice but to deal with each other back then because we were segregated. So integration, I think it was a downfall. I don't think he thought it through. Maybe he thought it would be better for us to be able to have access to what he thought white people would actually give up, which is basically finance and economics, and they didn't, and they don't do it to this day. So I'm going to say no. I think that maybe they ain't outright just spraying water hoses. Even though I just saw a video of a white man spraying a black woman in California with a water hose last week, but it's not as prevalent. But the police brutality is still there. We have a higher incarceration rate with black people. It's like what 2 million in the system. We don't have the housing, our businesses. We've lost a lot of those things. So I'm going to say I doubt it. I'll land my plane.
All right, Black Native. Thank you, sister. For you guys up in the Jumbotron, you will find the Newstoter YouTube channel as well as the actual newsletter. Please go ahead and subscribe to both of them. They are free. Please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as the actual newsletter. Also, in the Jumbotron is also the Cash App. It's $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, largest Black American-owned news curation platform today in America. Please, if you can, support us on Cash App. That once again, that is $Newstoter, $Newstoter. And if you do not have a Cash App, we have the Venmo and the PayPal link up in the Jumbotron as well too. So you can support us on one of those platforms if you can. Let me go ahead and kick it to This Is Not Volvo, and then I'm gonna kick it to Andre. Go ahead, Volvo.
Hey, Tyler, real quick, I just want to rebuttal against Black Natives saying that we had opportunities to have more homes back then. That's not true either, because if you ever go watch the stage play or Raisin in the Sun, that would tell you we struggled to get homes even back then. You know what I mean? Yeah, go ahead, Volvo. All right, man. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What's going on?
Oh, shit, man. I appreciate you letting me speak, man. Yeah, I just want to say, Dr. King, he the embodiment of what a warrior is, of our Black warrior spirit. You know what I mean? That man gave his life for us. You know what I mean? That was a special individual. His life had to been hell. If you really think about it, like he getting death threats every day. He always in a constant fight, never had a chance to relax, but he still remained a soldier, and he stayed the course, and he even gave his life for his mission. You know what I mean? That's the embodiment of our warrior spirit. We talk about maroons, shit like that. He was the definition of what a maroon is. You know what I mean? Like every fight don't have to be a physical fight. You know what I mean? He was not just fighting a physical fight. He was also fighting a spiritual fight. You know what I mean? And he stayed the course until the end. So people like that. They give me strength. When I go through shit, I know that I done been through a lot in my life. I ain't never been through nothing like that. So when I feel like giving up or complaining or something, I look back to the old people and say, you better suck it up. You know what I mean? As far as the title of the room, are we doing better since MLK's death? I'm not sure. For me, that's a difficult question. I'm not sure what's the measuring stick. Like what I don't know. Like that's just I don't know. It's just a difficult question because I don't know what we're looking for. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just want to say, I just want to give a shout out to our ancestors. Dr. Martin Luther King, he'll never be forgotten, and he gave me strength. Appreciate you letting me speak, bro.
As always, Bovo, glad to have you on the platform. Glad to hear your opinion as well too. So definitely hang around. I'm sure the mic will come back to you whenever you want to get back on there as well too. So definitely as always, Andre, I know it's gonna be definitely it's definitely gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to hear your opinion too, because I know that you have a strong MAGA type background as well too. So I know a lot of times you'll come in here and you'll put your speaking points in there, and then so you don't have a rebuttal, you'll go ahead and you'll disconnect in a heartbeat. So it's definitely interesting to hear what you got to say tonight.
Thank you. Yes, and thanks to you in the room. Black family, we have a lot of work ahead of us. I think it's good that I can pick up after the last speaker where he said it's hard to assess King's achievements in the context of right now if we're not able to clearly, basically identify what it is we're striving for and connect it to King, right? Like if we were going for something opposite of what he was going for, then we could say, yeah, we're better off or worse off. But if we understand what he was going for and we identify with that as our struggle, we would see that, of course, we're much better off, having King's lessons for us. So I just wanted to read a quick little excerpt of one of his things, and this I think will answer the question of what we are going for and why King helped us see, right? Because he was a warrior, correct, but as long as we understand that that was a metaphor and that he in real life his monumentous power came through his brain, his mind, his ability to learn the system that put black folk in the condition and fight white folks at their own game, which is ideology. It's all in the mind, is how they control the slave and how all of the horrible effects of slavery and oppression, it keeps us from our goal. It's in the mind. And that's what King's power was. So he says, our nation is now so rich, so productive. And I should preface it by saying one of the other speakers mentioned the Korean War and the Vietnam War. Vietnam War, they were communists, and the Korean War was pretty much in the context of the Cold War, which had to do with this giant struggle, global proportions. And this is what King was able to tease out in order to see how it could help the Negro at the time, as we were called, to find our way to out of this oppression. And so we have to understand as Black people that we cannot get around what King was mainly focused on for most of his work, which was the United States as a nation situated in a global struggle between capitalism and those who were the victims of capitalism, right? So capitalists, they had to have slaves in order to sell all the cotton and this and that. And they fought the USSR because the USSR had kicked the capitalists out. And they said, no, we're going to have the poor people and the working people who allow the rich people to be rich, because we got rid of the kings. It was the Tsar back in the day. And so we don't want any new neo-kings and neo-monarchy. We want actual freedom. And so the capitalists, they thought was freedom from the kings and all that. It actually wasn't. So that has been the struggle ever since capitalism began, right? We have to ask ourselves why we're not dealing with kings and queens. What does the United States represent? It represents a revolutionary movement away from kings and queens towards a closer to freedom. And so King's great achievements was teaching the nation why capitalism actually was generating all of this inequality that people couldn't understand. Why are white people acting up so much? And why are so many white people growing poorer as the years go? And so King was able to identify that it was the economic system that needed to change for not only Black folk, not only white folk, but for the entire world. Because the only reason why the United States is relevant is because it's so powerful and controls everything. And so they wouldn't have the control to oppress the Negro if they didn't have all this power that they're using from this system that had taken over the world at this point. So he says, our nation is now so rich, so productive. This is after World War II. The United States became, they assumed their world hegemonic power, right? They set up the global banking system, and they just continue to rule with military power. It's so productive that the continuation of persistent poverty is incendiary, meaning it's going to spark a flame because the poor cannot rationalize their deprivation. They don't understand why they don't have when there's so much. Yet we have yet to confront and solve the international problems created by our wealth in a world still largely hungry and miserable. So they understand that he understood from all the tradition of criticism of this economic system, backed by ideology and theory to make people believe that it was working. It's almost like the Twilight Zone, right? It's like it's crazy how something could be so bad and yet people can let it go on. And so he goes, but more immediate and pressing is the domestic existence of poverty. It is an anachronism, meaning it's an old thing in the present time. In the second half of the 20th century, only the neglect to plan intelligently and adequately. By the way, we're spending $15 million a tank for all of this war, and we're losing in terms of what we are trying to achieve by hampering China's economic growth and Russia and their collaborative efforts, as well as all the other countries that are standing up against the U.S. for trying to rule the world and oppress the world by force for about 100 years now. The United States has been on top. The opposing forces will always come at us. I mean,
Okay, Andre, not to mute you, bro, but just in terms of the actual topic we're talking about, and I know maybe you're trying to go somewhere with this, but let's kind of get back on the actual Dr. King if we can.
All right, I just trying to put it in context. Social conflict is not the product of skills agitation. The apathy from which Negroes suffered for so long was derived from their powerlessness and their acceptance of the myth that abundance was not available. They are now accumulating power. They are taught by every media of communication that we are so opulent we can enjoy both butter and guns. That's an economic term, old economic term, like guns and butter, like two different variables that the country has to figure out what they prioritize. Right? In the economy, you have to say, what should we do in terms of organizing our resources? They are now accumulating power, and we can have guns and butter. This is why they confront the white power structure with their program and challenge it to produce one of its own. So this was the goal, to answer the question, is that we can't just try to carve out our own little corner or try to accept repair from a system that only knows destruction. We have to replace it, and we have to focus on the system that is not domestic only but global. And so he says the creative combining of both programs would unite social and economic justice into a single package of freedom. This is why Martin Luther King got shot, is because he was gathering the poor masses of the world. He went to Africa, he went to international places, circles rather, and he was saying, look, this is a global problem, we got to strike it, and Negroes can lead the way because we are so intimately tied to the issue. The Negro in 1966 does not issue his challenge in isolation. Selma in 1965 made clear that there are white Americans who cherish decency and democracy, who will physically come to the scene of danger, who will fight for their nation not only on foreign battlefields, but where its integrity is threatened with.
Okay, Andre, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you 25 seconds to go ahead and because somehow we brought the white people that come in to fight for our battle, and I guess the Camelot, the white knight and all this other stuff. I figured it was going to be coming in a minute, so I was just waiting to see. But go ahead, 25 seconds, and go ahead and close it out, bro.
Thanks so much for your time. And guys, you guys can laugh at King, who said these words. He's our elder. I would have the respect and the maturity to try to grapple with everything that he said and have a real good faith dialogue, not only with myself in the mirror, but with the community that we care about so much. Like King, on this day, we should actually, take all his words into consideration. He says that's why they confront the white power structure with their program and challenge it to produce one of its own. The creative combining of both programs would unite social and economic justice to receive a package.
Okay, Andre, thank you. I appreciate.
Here it is.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And Ray, I saw the text. I have absolutely no idea, to be honest. I have absolutely no idea. Black Native and then Volvo. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
He said that we don't have the intellect or fortitude to honor King. I guess it's because the way he wants to honor King by reading a whole dissertation. King also said when we was in that room listening to his speeches that the majority of the white population in the United States goes along with white supremacy. They understand fully what they are doing, and they are willing participants in the degradation and racism that they enact on Black people. He said it was a couple of good white folks out there, and they are. But we ain't gonna big up. Look, if you got 100 rattlesnakes in a pit, and maybe 2 that are not, or 2 rattlesnakes and maybe 80 are not rattlesnakes, you ain't gonna jump in the pit because you don't know. So this is also what Dr. King said. You got a couple of good white folks, and we believe they are, but it's not enough because the majority love the condition, they love their position, they love the benefits, and they're not willing to give it up nor share. And that's also what Dr. King was speaking on. So we ain't going to act like it's a white savior coming around here that's down with Black people because they have 500 years to get the shit together and they still haven't got it together. So I ain't trying to hear nothing that dude was saying. But I wanted to also respond to DJ. DJ, you said back then Black people didn't own homes. I beg to differ because most of the Black people did own their own homes.
I never said that we didn't own our home. Hold on. I never said we didn't own our own homes. I said it was hard to obtain homes. If you ever saw the stage play A Raisin in the Sun, that would tell you that. Go ahead, though.
Okay, well, my grandmother, who was born in 1900, owned at least 3 or 4 homes, plus some stores, and she was from the South and moved to New York. Most Black people did own their own homes. Most people, like your grandparents, you would go to Big Mama house for Christmas and Thanksgiving. You know, we have, I'm not going to say we might not own as much, but the interest rates are higher. Well, that's for everything right now, but I'm just saying, maybe that might be the case, but overall, I'm going to go with what Vocal Rant stated. What is the measuring stick? Because if I'm looking at what was going on then and I'm looking at what we're still talking about in 2023, it doesn't seem like we've moved that much because we're still out in the streets, out there protesting for Black Lives Matter. We out there, no peace, no justice. Our people are still getting gunned down in the streets. We're still being denied loans. I mean, all of this stuff is still going on. Might not be as prevalent, but it's still here. And it's as long as it's still here, his dream hasn't been fulfilled. And I'm gonna land my plane.
Hey, hold up, real quick. Who's talking? Because I see somebody speaking, but I don't know. We got some hands up, so I'm gonna get to the hands, and I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna let the new speakers. Was that you, Label, speaking? Okay, no, give me 1 second. Let me get to Charles, and then I'll get to you because Charles, he had his hand up first too, and he's a new speaker. So I'm gonna let the 2 new speakers. I'm gonna let Charles, and then you speak. Charles, go ahead and unmute your mic, and then I'll get to you, Label.
Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you, Newstoter, Ray, and DJ, and Brother Muko. Appreciate y'all. I just wanted to say that I'm just gonna bring it back to when I'm just gonna bring our attention back to February 12th, 1968. Some of y'all might remember this. Some of y'all might have been born. I wasn't born, but I did a lot of research on Dr. King. And this was the time when 1,300 sanitation workers had went on strike because they were in bad working conditions. They decided to go on the strike after two of the sanitation workers had gotten killed while doing the job, and their names was Mr. Cole and Mr. Roberts. Uh, Throughout that time where they were protesting and stuff, they had many different leaders like a reverend by the name of James Lawson of Tennessee. They had Henry Leah. He was the mayor of Tennessee, but he did not support the strike. So when he did not support the strike, he enforced the police officers of Nashville, Tennessee, to go out and release dogs, mace, uh, uh, water hose, and everything. So when I think about Dr. King, I think about Dr. King as being fuel for the fire. I think about Dr. King as being someone who he see that we are struggling and he'll come to our aid. And I just wanted to say that Dr. King and Coretta Scott King, to me, they had a very beautiful relationship because even after Dr. King died, the next day after he came to Memphis, Tennessee, to help the 1,300 men protest for their job, for better pay, for better working conditions. Even after Dr. King died, Coretta Scott King, she went to Memphis to march with the men and continue their strike until they were able to get exactly what they wanted. So I just want to just let everybody know that Dr. King was a warrior, and for me, he is like fuel to the fire, and that's all I want to say.
Thank you, brother Charles. I agree with you, Dr. King. His toughness is definitely underestimated because of the whole nonviolent movement. But Dr. King, like you said, he was a warrior. He was a very tough man as well, too. So you know, he doesn't really get the respect that he deserves in terms of that aspect of you have to be fearless. I mean, people, I know there was a lot of different movements throughout the nation. You had the in up north and stuff in the Midwest. You had the Nation of Islam, and you had the Black Panthers out west. But people forget the hell that it was in the South as well, too. With Bull Connor and George Wallace and these rednecks down south right here. If anybody, I mean, I'm down south. I'm in Florida. I'm as far south as you can get in the lower 48. And Florida was somewhat tame compared to the likes of Alabama and Mississippi. And Dr. King went there. He didn't duck, he didn't run. He went to these places and stuff like that as well, too. So people don't really realize, when they say being in unfriendly confines and behind enemy lines, he was exactly in those places. And he was willing to put his life on the line. So we have to, you know, there are things from the civil rights movement that got passed and stuff that a lot of us don't agree with, that we saw that the way it got people left, but that was never Dr. King's intent, in my honest opinion, for black folks to get left behind. They were dealing with a system that, had the advantage against black folks as well, too. That's how they was able to weasel in the minority thing and weasel in white women and stuff like that into the actual thing as well, too. So let's just give Dr. King, whether you agree with everything he did or not, he still had his people's best interest in his heart as well, too. So uh, let me kick it to Label.
Newstoter, can I just say this one thing real quick?
Go ahead.
They just did a study in April 2022, and guess what the percentage of discrimination against Black American it is.
I'm not sure. What's that?
The number is 76% of Black Americans experience discrimination. So so to answer your question, are Black Americans better off today since Dr. King? Hell no. If anything, it has gotten worse, sir. And I'm gonna leave it right there.
All right, all right. Hey, Label. Now I know you had your hand up, so go ahead and put your hand up. I'll go ahead and let you get on the mic because I know I told you after Charles you can go ahead and speak. So you want to go ahead and unmute your mic?
Oh yeah, hello everyone. Look at that. Yes, we all worse off now than
Hey, are you on a? Do you got a headset on, a Bluetooth or anything?
yeah, I'm on my phone.
Okay, because you're kind of you really really low, so that's why I was trying to see if there's a way you can kind of turn your volume up or something.
Hear me now?
I can hear you a little bit, but just go ahead, bro.
All right. Nah. Give me a minute. I'll come back. Give me a minute.
All right, Marcel, I see you up in the space. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, I think that two people were ahead of me.
Well, no, I'm trying to get to the new speaker, so I had Label. So you go ahead and speak. You got it.
Okay. Well, of course we're not better off. The data shows we're not better off. Compared to how we were pre-integration, we're far worse off. We were losing our land before integration, but now we've lost our damn communities. 90% of our land is gone, and they just estimated, I believe, 2020 or 1900 to 1999, or was it 2000, 2020? I'm going to have to look. We lost something like $400 billion worth of land. We own less homes now than we did during Jim Crow. Even under Jim Crow and redlining, our wealth was heading up. Our wealth is now heading towards zero if it's not there already. 20% of Black families, as of 2017, when they said all of us would be at zero wealth by 2053, 20% of Black families had a negative net worth, and an additional 3.5 million only had $10,000 in wealth for the entire year. COVID came along, and we know those numbers are worse now. Okay? We have our Black commerce have been completely dismantled. There's something we don't know about integration. When we integrated, something like 80% of Black teachers lost their jobs because our Black schools pretty much vanished, and now we're being forced pretty much to go to school because most of our people don't have the means to homeschool their kids. And starting a school is a lot of work. And this is coming from me. I was in a program where they were supposed to give money to some people to start a school. And of course, they didn't choose me. They chose some non-racially specific mess, whatever. But starting a school is hard. Private schools are usually not necessarily better, and a lot of them are sometimes still white people. Now, our kids are going to school being taught by people who probably hate them and call them the N-word at home, and probably celebrate with somebody who looks like them get killed, and definitely don't support them getting reparations they do. And we send our kids to be taught by that. Okay? We have our kids, Black boys, are now ages 5 to 12, have the highest suicide rate among that age group. We're not better off at all. We have more Black representation, but that's just visibly. We have more Black faces in high places politically. We have actually less representation now than we did during the days of Jim Crow, when they damn near made it almost illegal for a Black person to run for office and to get elected. So we're definitely worse off. And Don Martin didn't recognize that. He said he had integrated us into a burning building. And that's why the last thing he was on will say we were coming to get our check. So reparations will make Black America better off than today than we will ever be in any time in the past. And hopefully, with our reparations, we will get some Black separation, meaning thriving Black communities where we're self-sustaining and we live amongst ourselves and we have our own commerce, our own schools, our own hospitals, our own things. But you know what the other problem is too? Some of us have gotten comfortable. Because some of us have normalized this, just work hard and come home tired and collapse on the bed. We think that's how everyone else is living. That is not how a lot of these other groups are living. A lot of them are not struggling and working their fingers to the bone day in and day out. and then coming home collapsed and barely making it. That's how I thought everyone lived too, until I saw better, until I really saw how people who are truly middle class and upper class live, white people, Asian people, non-black people, and definitely black people who are not black Americans. When I saw how a lot of them truly live, and I saw the difference between making a good paycheck and having wealth, making a good paycheck is not wealth. Because I've seen the difference with people who may not have the best paycheck, but they have wealth, and people who make a good paycheck, but they have no wealth. A lot of black people may have a good paycheck, but they have no wealth. And therefore, their life is still a constant struggle, and they lose that job, and in 2 weeks, they are in the poorhouse too. So we're not doing better, and we won't be doing better until we do reparations. And we won't do better until we stand up for ourselves and demand what's owed to us. That's politically, and that's every other way. I'm going to land with this. I have had people tell me about I need to be careful. That's that sorry currently stuff. Martin Luther King Jr. may have believed in nonviolence, but you know what he never did? He never criticized other black movements that were violent. Initially, he did. But after a while, he stopped doing it because he realized they were trying to use him as the good Negro who just comes out and wags his finger at the black people. He stopped doing it. And he said, if you're upset about the violence or the militant stance of the Black Panthers, you should be upset about the issues that had the Black Panthers upset. If you're not upset about the issue, don't be upset about their response. He stopped condemning other people who had more militant means. I need some of us to be a little bit more militant. I have people who are veterans, combat veterans, telling me, be careful. You shouldn't be telling me, be careful. You should be telling me, I'll be there if somebody threatens you. I'll be there if you need me. When are we going to get that militant stance? When are we going to be more demanding? It is always the people who have the least and sometimes have to give the most. Until we are all ready to give, we're going to continue to not have anything for them to take, and then eventually we won't have anything to give.
All right. Appreciate that, Marcel. Label, how is your sound now? Are you ready to go? You there, Label?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same, but go ahead, bro. I'm gonna let you go ahead and speak.
All right, look, I mean, yeah, I absolutely feel like we are no better off at this moment. And, you know, what I'm saying is, in my mind, and what I'm saying, is that at the end of the day, we just watch this fiasco go on TV. On TV. At that church with Raphael Warlock and all them, you know what I'm saying? What the people are not really understanding that guess what? At the end of the day, that man's mama was sacrificed in that church. In that church. So from a political aspect, we're standing on one side of the scale by hitting the city. And not only that, I mean, look at it. I want to ask Marcel this question. Does the senator, the Republican senator, Tim Scott, does he have a reparations platform? No. Okay, so what I'm saying is, guess what? There's an illusion going on with this Democratic Party and the way we put our.
Hey, Marcel, real quick. I think your mic might be open. Go ahead, Label.
Okay, there's a systematic scheme that's going on, induced by the Democratic Party, that say basically we gotta suppress these Negroes. Lyndon B. Johnson said that he will have you Negroes voting Democrats that you want to get. That's what he said out of his mouth. Now, when we look back on
accomplish the things that he was able to accomplish at 38, 39. Okay, yeah, guess what? All right, yeah, we can take on those and build on those because at the end of the day, guess what? That's the end of the work. That's not the end of the work.
So I ask a question real quick.
Go ahead.
Since this is a town hall, so I want to propose my question. And I'm not doing this to go after anyone. I'm just asking this openly, and every time you ask this, it's crickets from most people. When we talk about how bad things are, my question is, what are you as an individual, which goes for me too, what are you doing about it? We should always end what we're doing about it and what we collectively going to do about it. Because if not, we're just sitting here blowing out hot air, y'all. And me, that's why I kind of just sometimes avoid these conversations because I get tired of the of just trauma. I need action that we're going to do. And I don't want to hear that.
Well, no, it's not. I agree with personally, or what, that doesn't matter. What matters is the policy that you have presented. Guess what? I'm on board with that. You know what I'm saying? And okay, now, at the end of the day, personally, I'm beyond my feelings with you. I'm beyond my feelings. I've been doing what I do on the ground. From Maryland to Oklahoma, all my lineage is intact. All my lineage says that, guess what? There's a lot of people that owe me. What I'm saying is that, guess what? In South Carolina, in Georgia, that little Georgia Senate race, guess what? We have all of our people politically standing on the Democratic Party for this issue.
But Label, let me be quick though. I'm sorry, Newstoter. I'm gonna be quick.
Yeah, and real quick, Label, because we got to go ahead and get to some other speakers as well too, and some of the speakers who are not speaking as well too. If you guys not speaking, we got people trying to request to come up. So if you're not going to speak right now, go ahead and please drop back down to listener so we can go ahead and connect some let some other people come up to speak as well too.
I just want to say, yes, Georgia is a problem. I pulled up on Raphael Warnock and went in on him. And he came, and of course he was going to hide from me. But he then did a rally with Obama in Atlanta. And I told people about it. Not one person in Atlanta, all those reparationists there, went and confronted him at that rally. You see, we can't be putting it on one person to show up and speak out. We all have the responsibility. First of all, the answer is politics. I don't know why we always can fight against every other group that always become a politics. But anyway, we need to all be putting pressure on these politicians. Until we are comfortable, no one should be comfortable. But we are not doing that. We are comfortable. Because some of us may not have it as bad as others. And that's selfish.
All right. Appreciate that response, Marcel. Label, he went ahead and he answered that. Let me go ahead and get to and I'm gonna get to the new speakers, and I'm gonna get to the ones who had their hands up before as well too. So let me get to I want to get to BW and I want to get to Ogun. BW, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Good evening, everybody. I want to just ask some questions. Are Black Americans better off today since Martin Luther King's death? They are financially, because we was able to get a lot of things from what the people did back in the day.
That's not what the data shows, BW. I'm sorry, but that's not what the data shows.
Yeah, real quick, Marcel, let her go ahead and get her point in. Go ahead, BW.
I think too, because we was able to get the jobs. Now a lot of us are homeless, but we was able to get the jobs that we wasn't able to get when the people back in the day fought for us. Although back in the day they did have families, and that's what was good at, and they didn't have people. They helped each other. Now they don't. You're just out there on your own, and our people just seems to not have a backbone like they did back in the day. It's like, I don't know what happened. We gave up or something. Some of us gave up. Because any time a person speak up and ready to really, truly fight the system, other Black people tear them down. or they get scared. So it's like they fought for us to get the little stuff that we got. But to me, we are failing them because we don't have no backbone. We done got a little bit of money and we're scared to fight the system because we got some money. And so I think that's what we're falling at. It's like we get on these sites and bicker among each other, which is stupid because most of these people you'll never see anyway. We get and bicker with one another, and I don't understand why. Just because you have a disagreement with a person, why you got to get all on these sites and want to threaten them and do all kinds of things to them, the other person, because they disagree with you. Back then, they had unity. We don't. People now, they don't have no unity. They just bitching, complaining about one another, and then it's just that we don't have family, and we let these white people get in our head and tell us what we gonna do. Back then, black people stood up. These people these days don't stand up. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you, sister. Let me go to Ogun. Ogun, go ahead and unmute your mic.
How y'all doing? Still pretty fresh on these spaces for people talking about reparations and all that stuff. Getting hip to it. So to answer the question, two questions. Marcel posed a question about do people actually do work out there? So I'll answer that shortly after answering the main question. Are Black Americans better off today since MLK death? I will argue to the end of days that we are not. Evolution of slavery always happens every day. Because you move up into a new class bracket or because there's more money doesn't mean that there are not the same types of psychological damages that are happening on a consistent basis. We can see it in the evidence of our music, our products, our services, our ability to own land, the way we get forced out. There's currently a black man or black family in Colorado losing 1,000 acres of land right now. They're like getting killed just to try to protect that land. I've actually seen people get killed in the Black Belt region who are trying to protect their lands, black farmers specifically. So if we want to talk about actually owning our own health, owning our own wealth, having the skill to actually have the labor to do so, I do not believe that we are in the right position to actually say that we are doing well. We can talk about AI all day and how that's going to replace people. We can talk about automation and how that's going to replace people. We can talk about several things that will completely annihilate what our population is capable to bring to the labor force at the moment, based on our labor force. Not to say that we are incapable, but it is what we choose to focus on. Most of the time I get into spaces, most of the conversations are about relationships or trivial things and not about serious things, as in like how can we contribute our labor to really develop our own supply chain, food chain, et cetera, et cetera. Like these are just things that just need to happen at the base level, right? And it's not to say that that's the easiest thing to do, because people will come after you once you start setting it up. I know that from personal experience. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've had to protect politicians who ran for district commissioners, et cetera. It's just a bunch of shit that goes down with that. So anyway, to answer Marcel's question, yes, people are out here doing the work. I'm one of the people that's doing the work. I can't get into politics partially because I'm doing too much work. Like it just doesn't make sense for me to remove myself from what I believe is the actual answer, to jump into politics, to have a conversation about things that I know that actually having labor that can actually develop land and build businesses and be able to actually give money to the people that I see that can try to make the changes that I need to see in the areas that I'm developing. I feel like that is more so adequate than to jump on, a mic and influence people with the voice at the moment. Just because we need foundational, tangible, like things at this very moment for our supply chain. Like we're literally going through inflation, and that shouldn't be a thing for Black Americans. We could literally have the entire Black Belt to fuel us with food. We don't need to worry about eggs going up because we got each other at a farmer's market, etc. These are things that should be already happening and should have been happening and can happen because there are Black farmers that already exist and have that network and they're willing to do that work. So it's just
okay. Real quick, Ogun. Yeah. Well, let me, Marcel, before you chime in, because we got a bunch of new hands in there. So let me get to everybody real quick. But go ahead and say something real quick, Marcel, because then I got to go ahead and move on.
I just want to say, Ogun, it's a question really. We keep trying to do this group economics, farm, build business our way out of poverty. We've been doing that for centuries. And no other group has gotten their wealth that way. Every other group has gotten their wealth through politics. What makes the other group who have never been oppressed is through politics? How is the group that's been oppressed designated? No one's gotten their wealth that way. Not one.
Everybody got political control because they had land and ownership of corporate finances and resources.
And they're taking ours from us right now as we speak. They're taking ours from us right now as we speak.
No, I'm here doing it consistently. Got shot at, had my car shot at with a 50 cal. I know.
Politics will protect us.
The reason why you can't develop land, sir, is because that is how you get the political party, the true party.
Black farmers right now are begging the government to help them because they're losing their land.
Because we have $1.7 trillion that we do not spend with our black farmers. We spend it at
$1.7 trillion to buy food and to pay bills to get those serious.
Okay, real quick, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and y'all keep your hands up. We're gonna move back, get back to that point there. But I know y'all gonna kind of go on for a minute, so let me just go ahead and get to some of the other speakers, and then we'll get back around the room as well too. Enough. You're up next. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hello. Thank you for letting me speak. Hello to the room. I'm gonna answer the question of the room. Are Black Americans better off since Martin Luther King died? And I'm going to say no. We're not better off. I feel like when I hear older people talk about what happened back then, it don't make sense to me. The worst thing that ever happened to us was being pushed into other communities with white people and his dream of wanting us to live amongst white people. That was one of the things that have actually stripped us away from having anything. We really don't have a lot, and slowly but surely it's being we're getting it taken away. Like back in the day, like I'm from California. Back in the day, like we used to have our own corner stores. That was taken away from us. We had a lot of other things, and it was just taken away from us. And I have to be honest. I understand when people older people come and they say, well, you know, they had a lot of more push and a lot more, but what did you really push us into? Because it's falling onto the next generation to try and fix whatever happened back in the day. And we don't have the we're not financially stable. We're not even we're not even making the amount of money we was making back then. I feel like they had more back then than we do now. So all I'm going to say is no, we are worse off now, and we are, it's going to get even worse. And I do agree with Ogun about us trying to work together and try to come together and work together with the farmers. But some of us don't live by Black farmers, right? Because we've been pushed out to the West Coast, to the East Coast, and all over, right? Yeah, I don't know about that, but I know I need my reparations check. I think that's where we need to be focused at, getting our reparations check so that we can build those things. We can't build those things without having money. Money makes the world go around, and if we don't have the money, and when you say that people are using money for the grocery stores and stuff like that, we have to be honest. I stay here in Oregon right now. My rent just went up like $250. I'm paying $1,900 in rent. Most of my money is not going towards food. It's going towards bills and everything else. So I just have to be honest, and I'm 26, and I just have to be honest, and it's just not me. I have a lot of brothers and sisters, and that's where our money is going. It's not going to the grocery store, and that's to anybody else. But thank you for letting me talk. Peace and love to the room. Thank you.
Okay, thank you as well too. For everybody that's in the space, make sure you guys check out the Jumbotron. We have the YouTube channel in there and the newsletter as well. Please go ahead and subscribe to them. You can go ahead and click on it right now and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as the Newstoter newsletter as well too. Also, if you can support us on Cash App, that's $Newstoter, Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, largest Black American news curation platform today in America. If you do not have an actual Cash App, then we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron as well too. Once again, the Cash App is $Newstoter. Let me go ahead to Mr. Leon. Leon, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Thank you, Newstoter. What's going on, Ray, Marcel, Enough, Bogoon? Seeing a lot of familiar faces in here. Very powerful topic tonight for our brother Martin Luther King. Black Americans better off today. No, we're not. I'm just going to be honest here. I'm going to cut through all the bullshit. Our elders, I'm not going to say all of them. Many of our elders, when they got the voter rights, the fair housing, all of that, they thought they won. They thought they won the war. They really did. I wholeheartedly think they thought it was over, and they were going to kumbaya, walk into the fucking sunset. And then the next day we're gonna start viewing this kumbaya level playing field. Only thing we did was gave them a bitch slap across the jaw. They finished licking their wounds. They're back with a vengeance. If we gonna make this move, you're gonna have to treat them like roaches. You're gonna have to break out the raid and exterminate them. Can't let them come back. And our elders, I'm sorry, most of y'all failed. Y'all absolutely failed on that aspect. Because y'all got duped on the level playing field that y'all think y'all was going to get, and you did not get it. Now, we going to have to clean up your mess and finish the job. But that's okay, though. That's okay. Just take it as a lesson learned. It's not over, but now we got to pick up the fight, and I'll land there.
All right, Leon, appreciate that, brother. We're gonna go to Deonta. I believe I don't want to mispronounce your name, Deonta. Then we're gonna go to Marcel, back to Label, and back to Ugon. I'm sorry. Before we get there, we got to also get. I'm sorry. We're gonna get to Deonta. Then we're gonna get to Volvo. I'm sorry, Volvo. Then Marcel. So go ahead, Deonta.
Peace to the family, peace to the room. Hope y'all doing right. So I'm gonna answer the question. No, I don't think Black Americans are better off today than we were before Martin Luther King died. And for obvious reasons, economically, we have been set back further now than we were even before MLK. So just kind of going from that approach and understanding that economics. I'm also focusing on the solution. So I agree with what Hogan said. There's a lot of potential and resources that, as a Black community, we haven't tapped into. We have a belief that we need to be competitive with everybody in the entire industry, and we don't. We need to organize ourselves into niches and provide niche services that we use. Kind of what Enough and Marcel was saying. We spend money on housing, we spend money on food, and we spend money on utilities. Some of those primary expenses, Black people can actually take control of them. You know what I'm saying? We can organize ourselves into what they call cooperatives. So with these cooperatives, we provide services to each other. So if there are Black farmers all across the South, well, there are also Black truckers all across the South. I myself personally know 10 truckers, and I know 5 who are their own owner-operators, meaning they can take whatever contract that they have to push whatever good and move whatever good they so desire. So the problem is just really connecting the Black farmers with the Black truckers with those who have their own building space. One of my programs that we're going to be initiating in my county is called the 100 Black Families Initiative. And what that is bringing Black families together to create a holding company in a living trust, and we're going to help them raise $1,000 a month over the course of the year. So if we have 100 black families working and collaborating together, we'll raise $1 million. We don't need a lot of money to start making impact and making changes. I think, a lot of times we get so lost in, well, we have this so much to do, or we can't do this, we can't do that. But like, no, really, and honestly, truly, if we raise $1 million, we can go to local investment banks and other organizations to match that money, and we can take that $1 million and turn it into free. And if we're doing that every year, we'll build the stores, we'll build new neighborhoods, we'll build our own community that's self-sufficient and thriving. But it does require us to work together, to strategize together, to look at our resources and know what we can do. I'm also a big fan of migration studies. One of the things that I looked at doing here in Texas, so that's where I'm at, is actually leading counties. So we migrate to enough counties, we actually control the commissioner's court. We get a lot of money from those state dollars, from those tax dollars, from those sales tax and all that. All that money we can begin to funnel back into our community because it's our money that we're already donating to sales tax and things like that. So just having a county strategy where we become the majority, we hold those county commissioners courts, we hold the DA, we hold the sheriff. Just doing little things like that, especially in rural counties, we can also tap into the USDA and get that funding in commerce and grants and low interest loans to build up rural areas, rural communities, building businesses and things like that. There's so many options that we have available to us that I don't think that we're tapping into. Now, I do think that reparations is huge and important, but I don't believe that it's the end all be all. I don't think that just because we don't have reparations currently, there's nothing that we can do in the black community. I think there are a lot of resources that we're not tapping into. I also agree with Owen when he said that this is the thing with politics. They have assets worth protecting. The reason why we ratified the Constitution of America is because there was a fight over assets. Who controlled the resources in the United States of America? Our founding fathers, whatever you want to call them, they had a war with racism. They declared their independence, saying we're not going to allow y'all to tax us and take our money and our resources without representation. So they followed. But at the end of the day, is politics only as powerful as the resources that you're able to control as a people.
You get resources through politics.
Hispanics build resources, and I watch them build their resources.
Hey, real quick, let the brother go ahead and finish his point. Go ahead, Deonta, in about 50 seconds, go ahead and land it so we can go and move around the room. But everybody, respect whoever's talking. Don't come off your mic and let that person finish their point of view. Go ahead, Deanna.
Okay, and I watch, just here in my community in Temple, Texas, I watch Hispanics really start slowly by purchasing houses. They work some of the construction jobs here in our community. Many of them, were legal immigrants, so they weren't just getting a lot of funding and opportunities here in our local area. But they did work with those who had their legal status, and they worked construction jobs. They undercut the market. They got paid under the table, but they put their money together to build what they needed. I watched over the course of 5 years them living together, 3 or 4 families in one 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. Eventually, over the course of a couple of years, they all own their own. You know what I'm saying? And they started their own construction company, their own electrical company, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we can do the same thing. It doesn't necessarily, and many of them don't vote here in the area. There's a lot of opportunities that, like I think, we're not executing on, we're not strategizing with ourselves and within our community. And I'll let my
Okay.
Okay, then my turn.
Wait, I got Volvo, then I got you, Marcel. Go ahead, Volvo, and then Marcel.
Yeah, I'm trying to go fast. I gotta go to work. I look at MLK and I look at what did he really want. You know what I mean? I'm like a simple person. I'm a black and white person. What he wanted is he wanted for America to honor his promise. You know what I mean? And until we get America to honor his promise, that part of America's creed is liberty and justice. Until we get justice, we gonna keep having trouble. So that's what he wanted. He wanted justice. So it's a lot of talking going on tonight, but we gonna keep talking until we get true justice, real justice. It was Art of America's creed is liberty and justice for all. So that's the problem that we always had. Black Americans never really got true justice. So that's what he wanted. He wanted justice. And I'm gonna land with that. Appreciate you letting me speak.
All right, Vo. I know you say you're getting ready to go to work, but you still can listen in as well too. So even if you're not going to talk, go ahead and listen in. This is a pretty good discussion tonight we're having as well too. Marcel, it's your go. Go ahead, Marcel.
Okay, so oh boy, where do I begin? One, when Black Americans owned 19 million acres, we had no representation in government. So this whole thing that the reason we don't have good politics because we don't have land is absolute BS. But when we had 19 million acres, we didn't have anything. That's number one. Number two, I lived in South Carolina, a state whose industry is still primarily farming. A state that is over 30% black. You will not find hardly any black farmers nowadays. Enough to say she lives in Oregon, where there's like 4% black population. I'm in South Carolina, where it's a 30% black population. In some places, 70%. And you go to the blackest county, you won't find a single black farmer. Do you know why? Because the USDA that you mentioned we get resources from, they ran black people off of their property by not giving them the grants to which they were entitled, by not giving them the tax exemption that they gave to white farmers. That was done by policies. Do you know how white people had the assets that you claim we need to have? They got it from the Homestead Act. It was policies that gave white people the assets they had. Do you know how white people were able to buy homes? It was policies. They got it from the GI Bill. They got it from the FHA. And meanwhile, while the FHA was giving white people homes, they were putting highways and railroads through black people's homes. Do you know how Asian Americans had their homes and their land? Because when the Chinese were brought over here to pretty much repair and finish a little bit of railroad that was left to build, because we did most of it, they gave the Chinese land on which they could live, which became today's Chinatown. They gave the Japanese and Koreans jobs because they wanted countries in Asia to become democratic instead of communist during the Cold War. That was all done by policies. And those Hispanics you mentioned, are you kidding me? I do social work. Most of my clients are illegal Hispanics who get free rent, who get Medicaid, who get free food, who get transportation help, who get help with their medical bills. You ain't going to tell me they don't, because I'll do this every single day. They do it because they come over here, have an American child, and policies that the government has written allows illegal immigrants to get resources if they're in this country illegally. Second of all, it's been shown that even though illegal immigrants pay somewhere like $12 or $13 billion, they use hundreds of billions of dollars in resources that they don't pay for. It's been shown that these use illegal labor themselves that they don't pay, and all the money goes into their pocket. Right now, you have programs on the books to help people in the country illegally. This country used to have a program where if you could not speak English, you were considered disabled and would get benefits for it. This country has a refugee and illegal immigrant housing program. That's policy. So it kills me when black Americans, the group that is owned by this country, we're told that the reason we don't got what we had is because we haven't worked with each other. We built Black Wall Street, y'all. We've been doing cooperatives. Okay? We had thriving communities throughout this country. They would still be here if it wasn't for policies like the FHA that destroyed them. They would still be here if it wasn't for policies like eminent domain that allowed the government to just take your land and say, get the hell going. So how in the hell do we overcome those type of policies? We are not going to small black business our way into wealth. We are not going to educate our way into wealth. We are not going to do group economics our way into wealth. Group economics is a great thing, but what good is group economics if you don't have the wealth? We've been doing that for centuries, and I'm at the land right now. It was just shown that with the stimulus checks we just got, black Americans started more new businesses than any other group in America. That don't surprise me. That may surprise white people who think we just sit around and whine, which that's what they do a lot, and they have everything. Even with those new businesses we started, guess what? Black Americans also have had the fastest, the highest rate of businesses closing than any other group. That statistic has not changed. So we do all these things that y'all are saying we need to do already, and it ain't working. The only resource that we are missing is the political protection and the political wealth that we are owed. There's a reason why this country used to assassinate our leaders, because they knew that we had access to political power. We was going to look out for our people. They didn't just stop us from voting, y'all. See, that's the part they don't tell us about this country's history. They didn't just used to stop us from voting. They used to stop us from running for office. In the South, it was illegal for a black person to hold any position of power. And y'all sitting here saying that's not important. I'm not arguing against us working together and doing group economics. I'm arguing against this attitude that politics is not important, that we don't need to be the people in power doing things for each other. And beyond that, those Hispanics you mentioned, those Latinos, right now they're running for office. You just had one get in Texas. She's a Republican. And you know, Republicans will be against illegal immigration. She wants to give illegal immigrants not just citizenship, she wants to give the office of New Americans where they will get help with housing and medicine and transportation and food and education. So while we are sitting here on our black asses talking about we don't need no politics, we can just do it ourselves. Other groups are doing exactly what I'm saying we should do. We are the only group that always argues against common sense things that will get us what we need. The only group that does it.
All right. Let me just give a shout out to Enough. Thank you for your contribution tonight. Marcel, let me just say this part right here. And I definitely, politics, you have to be able to implement politics and I don't think anybody talking about, if you really talk about group economics, it becomes stronger when you do have a political system to back you up. So I definitely agree with what you're saying on that part. When we were doing it, we couldn't do anything politically. But I will say in the case of some of these other groups, we look at the Asians and stuff like that. The Asians have never been any political power in the United States. They've been propped up. Wait. Hold on real quick, Marcel. Let me go real quick. They've been propped up though by the United States government. A lot of the stuff that they got is not because they were such a big voting bloc. It's because of the United States government as a way to go ahead and create buffer classes and stuff like that amongst each other. They went ahead and they started doing stuff for a lot of these groups who did not have the actual numbers to get out there politically and do things for themselves. They started going ahead for these special groups doing the civil rights movement as a way to go ahead and try to knock off the progress of black people. They went ahead and they started propping up a lot of other groups and stuff like that, giving them money, giving them resources and stuff, things that they could not go out there and actually vote for, and actually that they're really no big voting bloc to this day. When we look at the Jewish community and stuff like that, the Jewish community power rests with their financial backing. So yeah, you're right. I agree that you got to go ahead and mix in politics as well as business as well too. But let's be for real. A lot of these actual groups and stuff in this country that have the Arabs and a lot of these people from the Middle East and stuff like that, that these little small enclaves of people in this country, it's not their voting process that got them up to the point where they at. It's because the United States government looked at a way when the United States was over there against, because I had my father and my uncle serve in Vietnam. 1 minute you over there in Vietnam, you fighting against somebody. Next thing you know, the United States government brings them over here and puts them in black neighborhoods. Now, was it because of Vietnam, because of the Vietnamese, that voting bloc that made them rise and stuff like that in this country? No, it's because the United States government said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put grant money behind y'all. We're going to put resources behind you. We're going to do this and do that behind you. So there is a little, I understand what you're saying. There is a little different, and we do need to use our voting block, because when we did have the Rosewoods, I'm here from Rosewood. My father was born 50 miles away from Rosewood, the actual Rosewood city. When you had these places like Wilmington, these thriving places and stuff like that, you're right. We was locked out of the political sphere, so we could not protect ourselves. So they crashed and burned our cities down. So I'm in total agreement with you on that. We need to go ahead and get us a voting block, and we need to go ahead and start thinking about our own best interests and not party interests as well too. But at the same time, some of these people also, these little groups that we see that come up here, and the first thing they do is when they learn English, one of the first words they can come out their mouth and talk about lazy nigga and this and that or whatever. Had the United States government not been blowing smoke up their ass, they wouldn't have anything up here to really rub two nickels with. So let's give credit to the United States government the same way they went ahead and took all those jobs up there in the Midwest when you had black people. That was the foundation of those motor companies and stuff like that, the Fords, the GMs, and all that, and start over the sending things out of this country and stuff like that as a way to stop the black middle class. You got it, Marcel.
Yeah, I just want to say with Asians, it's not that they have so much political representation, but what they had were political interests that served America. See, America was trying to stop communism from spreading in Asia, and they wanted to be friendly with Asian nations. That's why they allowed them to bring crack and poppy seed and all that stuff to black neighborhoods. They wanted to do whatever it took to get friendly with Asian governments so they can become democratic governments. Look at what these Afghani refugees. America is only doing that because they want to try to keep Israel safe in the Middle East over there, but they want to try to be friendly with these Middle Eastern companies. So there's always a political interest with America when it comes to how they treat these other groups better, or these other groups have political power. But look what's happening. You got Senator Tammy Duckworth and Senator Elaine Hirono, both Asian, who said when these so-called hate crimes that were never really happening like that against Asian Americans was supposed to be happening, they said we won't sign it nothing. We'll shut the government down unless we get an Asian hate crime bill, and they got it. That's what they do. That's what other groups realize. You get in power, you can protect and do for your people. They realize that unless you're protected by the government, anything you try to build, the government can come destroy, like they've done to black Americans before, but they know we're not going to be there to stand up. And that's why they love the Congressional Black Caucus. Black faces, high places, just a bunch of wastes.
Real talk. Let me go ahead. Who label? Hey, hold on real quick, label, because it is really, really, really hard to hear you because like it's really, really mumble. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you talk, but it's really hard to kind of make out some of what you're saying, brother.
All right, let's go. Let's see what's going on in Maryland. They had a Republican governor that's married to an Asian woman, right? And now their whole platform has shifted in Asian development. All right, now listen. This is what I'm saying though. Like, we gotta look at what's happening. The scripture that was talking about Oregon, what's her name? Hold on, what's her name? Never enough. You're talking about Oregon, right? Yeah, look at Oregon. You know, look at Oregon. Look at Vanport. Look at Vanport. Look at Vanport, Oregon. Vanport, Oregon. Look at history on Vanport, Oregon. Add it up. Look at history on Vanport, Oregon. Add it up. Add it up.
Okay. Like I say, bro, it's really, really, really hard to hear what you're saying for anybody in the space, anything. It's really like people on YouTube saying it's muffled. Like we really having a hard time making out what you're saying, brother. Like, is there any way that you could, if you got your Bluetooth in, take it out or whatever? But it's really, really hard to make out what you're saying.
All right, so you hear Vanport, Oregon? You hear that part?
Yeah, barely. I can barely hear it. It's really muffled. Hey, brother, please. I'm telling you. Hey, I can hear. Hey, wait. Hold on. I can hear it, but it's muffled, is what I'm saying. It's hard to hear what you're saying. That's what I'm saying.
Janky phone, gang. Janky phone, man. When y'all tax spread come in, make sure y'all get that new iPhone 10,000. You know what I'm saying? The S9 55,000 Samsung, gang. Upgrade y'all damn phone, man.
Here. I know a person in movement, man.
that sounds like a fly man talking. Can you? Damn.
Yeah, bro. Let me go ahead and
I'm just trying to get to the point, sir. You keep saying, "Look at this." What is the point of you telling us to look at this? It has to be a reason, sir. We just want to get to the point, please. Thank you.
The point is this. The point is, there has always been political interest, and we have neglected as a people moving forward in our limited state claims of reparation. There's been a neglect.
Okay, Label, we appreciate that. Let us go ahead and move around the room real quick. We'll try to get back to you. If you can, try to fix that sound because it's really, everybody's having a hard time hearing what you're saying in there, brother. So, Ogun, you had your hand up. Go ahead. We're going to go Ogun. We're going to go Deonta. We're going to go Enough. Anybody else that wants to speak, go ahead and raise your hand up and we'll get to you as well, too. So, and let me say this. Go ahead.
T-Mobile has 50% off all phones right now, just for you, so y'all know. Just saying. Go ahead, Ogun.
Hey Marcel, also while you in here, if you want to put your campaign thing up in the Jumbotron, just let us know. You can go ahead and put that up there as well too. If you guys can, go ahead and donate to Marcel. Also, if you can too, we in this MLK space and we talking about black this, black that. Support black-owned business. Support the largest black-owned news curation platform in America, putting out the content daily. So if you guys can donate, whether that's just $1, go ahead. Enough, she was kind enough to go ahead and donate. Thank you, Enough. But if anybody can donate on Cash App or Venmo or PayPal, that's in the Jumbotron. The Cash App is $Newstoter. Every day we putting out the content. Not only that, Newstoter is its own black-owned platform as well, too. So we always talk about the white this, white that. We are our own black-owned platform. So if you believe in supporting black-owned business, please go ahead and support us. Support our candidate Marcel as well too. I believe Marcel, if he put it in the Jumbotron, go ahead, y'all. I think DJ put it in there for you, Marcel. So go ahead if you can make a donation to Marcel, please. It's greatly appreciated. Please do that as well. And if you can, if you have $1 or $2 to spare, please think about donate to newstoter.com. It's in the Jumbotron as well too. And the Cash App is $Newstoter. Go ahead, Ogun. I'm sorry.
Clear to go this time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Appreciate it. Can I also market some of my stuff too? It seems like this is a very one-way marketing campaign here.
All right, go ahead and say what you got to say, bro. Let me give a shout out to Valerie too for her contribution on Cash App. But go ahead and this is a discussion I told everybody tonight before everybody started filtering in. They're going to be varying viewpoints on this. We're going to be respectful. Everybody has an opinion, and they're welcome to share their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion. So go ahead and state what you feel, bro.
Man, all right. So I just want to make a note that I didn't get the same amount of time to speak about what I was trying to talk about as the defendant here. And when I talk about this, I would like to have the same amount of time.
Okay, bro, just go ahead. You got it. Know what I'm saying? Like I say, go ahead and speak.
I haven't even got halfway through even what I'm trying to say, and we already here.
Hey, bro, you got. Hey, I mean, you got the mic, man. We giving you the mic. We telling everybody to be respectful and this and that. So I mean, I don't know what else we can really say about that. We're trying to be respectful, give you your time or whatever. Go ahead and say what you got to say, bro.
And before you say what you got to say, we try to keep the space under 2 hours. We already are over that time. So just keep y'all talking points to 2 minutes at best, man. You ain't got to write a whole book about it. But go ahead, Oka.
All right. Well, in that case, it's already at a disadvantage. I can't make my point. So thank y'all for having me.
God damn it, man. Get the fuck out the goddamn space station. Man,
all right, Professor. Chill. It's not even that serious, y'all. We keep saying that with our people. It's a space. We having dialogue. Professor, you're always a normal here, man. So just go ahead and don't even, it's nothing to even get up on. The brother, he says he doesn't want to speak. We're not going to tie anybody's arm and make him speak. If you don't want to speak or whatever, that's fine or whatever. We're going to let the brother go ahead and talk. Apparently he doesn't want to talk. That's cool. That's fine. That's, it is what it is. So, we're not going to lose no sleep over it. Let me give a shout out to Napoleon, to Brian, and to Harold for your contributions on Cash App. We not, like I said, we're gonna keep moving, keep rolling. For those who want to speak, hey, it's open. The mic is open. Go ahead and request it. So Ogun, thank you. Let's go on to Deonta. Then we're gonna get to enough. We're gonna get to original.
Enough was before me. She had her hand up before I did.
No, go ahead, brother. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to say too, with myself. So, but I'm not saying that we don't need to engage in politics. What I'm saying is that we need an economic foundation first before we are effective in politics. We can get people elected to positions, but if we're not able to economically support them through that initiative, all that costs money. None of that comes free. Even when we're looking at just doing those minor donations, to me, I'm looking, okay, we're donating $5, $10 here and there, $100. Imagine what we could have done over the course of the year if we're donating to political campaigns hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars. Where could that money have been spent to where it not only is effective, but it doubles? Putting that into infrastructure. We spend millions as a Black community donating to our politicians, millions of dollars a year. Well, not a year, but within each election period. So we're looking at those numbers that we're contributing to that, and we're looking, okay, well, are those politicians going to be able to be effective within the time period that will be allotted to them, or are they going to have to come back year after year after year after year after year before they're actually effective? Where are we going to put that money into actual economic infrastructure in our community? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the politics is not important. I'm not saying that the politics is not necessary. I'm saying that we haven't got to the space in place economically as a whole, as a community, to where the politics are going to be effective in that manner or in that way. So when I say that we need to focus more on building together and building community neighborhoods, executing, supporting our businesses, supporting our community endeavors. Like there's so much money, like I say, that we're not even spending with Black businesses, with Black ideas, focusing on Black masterminds to actually come up with strategic plans within our community on how we're going to spend our dollars. Like we're not having that on a large scale. That's what I meant by that. But I'm not saying, like I said, I am actually a precinct chair for my county for the Democratic Party. I'm the District 303. So I understand the importance of politics and the benefits. So don't get me wrong when I say that I don't think that we're at a point economically to where voting is going to be effective on a large scale. Now, locally, within your own county, voting for your county commission, voting for your commissioner of agriculture, voting for your county judge, voting for your DA, voting for your judges, voting for your council, voting for those electoral positions, all that, yeah, that's important. Engage and do that. But it's not just enough to say, to just go vote, because we have to have candidates that are going to actually affect the change that we're trying to see in our community. And to get those candidates into positions, they need money. They need support. And it can't be the dollars that we need to be using to build our community. It can't be the dollars that we need to get them elected, especially if there's no guarantee that once they're elected, they're going to get effective change or the necessary kickback or return on our investment in them. And for the most part, largely, by and by, there is not an investment or there's not a kickback. Our return on our investment over the last 60 years in supporting Black candidates has not received the necessary return that we need as a community. So then we have to start looking at a different strategy. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, can I respond real quick? It won't be long.
Real quick, Marcel, let me go ahead and get to we'll go ahead and respond, but enough because she's up next. So
we keep trying to build the house from the roof down. You don't start building a house from the roof. You build it from the foundation. When white people were poor, guess who got them out of poverty? Those same damn politicians sitting in there. White people then say, well, wait until they get money to get politicians. They got people who were in policy who did policy to get them out of poverty. You don't get an economic base without politicians. Second of all, I say every single morning, $5 is over 50 million of us. Just $5 once a month from 21,000 of us is $105,000. $10 is $210,000. $20 is $420,000. That's just once a month from 21,000 of us. We may not have a lot of money, but we have enough to finance our own candidates. We are the only group that needs to be thinking. It's no wonder why we don't get any damn respect from our politicians. And we've been voting for black faces. That's our fault. Voting for black faces. We need to be voting for black policies. And we have not tried that yet.
Okay, real quick, let me give a shout out to Cherie also for her contribution on Cash App, and let me go ahead and kick it to Enough. Enough, you got it.
Okay, so I definitely agree with the young man that was just speaking before Marcel. I understand about putting money behind our politicians, but you got to remember, in our community, right, we have so many people that are just not trustworthy towards our politicians because they have fucked us over so badly that it's hard to actually want to trust anybody, right? So if we can't do it on a voting strategy where we go out, we vote this way, we're going to have to find out how we can do it. I believe that our community can do it, but people are just not going to want to just trust, especially like in my generation. We're just not going for the fuckery. We're not. I'm not going for the fuckery. I'm not just going to be voting because y'all tell me we need to vote for this and that. Of course, I'm voting on policies, right? I take my house out and vote. But I also had a room earlier this week where a lot of people were in there saying that my generation is just, you got to have something when you go to my generation. You better tell them something that you're going to do for them. You can't just go up there and tell them the same thing you've been telling these old people respectfully, right? You can't just tell them if you can't scare us into voting, right? You're going to lose everything. The world is ending. Like, you can't scare us into voting, right? We have to have a reason why we're going to vote, right? And voting on where you're at on a local level is very important. I believe that. I believe voting where I'm at and putting money behind my candidates, that's where I'm at in this state, right? If I'm going back to California in the summer, so of course I'm going to put the money behind the people that are there, right? That are going for the policies that I want, right? And I do believe we do need to put money behind our politicians. But you also got to be careful with that because, people are just scared. They're scared because of how fucked up. We have a whole black caucus right now that does not do anything for us. Okay? They don't do anything for us. They do everything for everybody else. They don't even come out and speak about things that happen for us. It's scary to try and put money behind another black face. You know what I mean? That's speaking the right talk, but what is one person going to do when they get to office? One person. What can you actually change? We need more than just one person. So I do believe we do need to put more candidates out there that speak in the language of our lineage. Thank you. And I'll end there.
All right. And I don't know if I gave a shout out to you, Harold, but thank you for your contribution, and Michelle for your contribution on Cash App as well, too. Just want to give you a shout out as well if I missed you. We got Original, then we got Marcel, we got Professor, we got Deonta. So Original, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yes, what I want to say is, what Enough was saying about these politicians is that we got to be more selective as to who I'm gonna give you two examples. Okay, we had a guy. We got a city out here named called Stonecrest. They have it's a mall out there. They call it. It's a section they call it Black Wall Street. But what this former mayor did, he stole the COVID money and spent it on himself, whereby the money was supposed to go to the people so they could pay their rent and other things, and he stole the money. And then you have this guy. Now, Professor, you may be able to comment more on this. You may be aware of it, but you got this guy in Alabama, in Tuskegee. His name is Johnny Ford. Johnny Ford, he did what a number of these black elected officials were doing. They were running these cities. He was the mayor of Tuskegee. And he was running the city into the ground. the people got rid of him. He ran for a state Senate seat, and he tried to scream, I think it was racism or something, saying that he knew he had won because he just had it in his mind, and he was the mayor for like, I think, 30 years in Tuskegee. But he just like what they're doing on the national level, he didn't do anything for the people. He started running the city into the ground, making it prime picking for other people to come in and buy up the property. But they got his butt up out of there, and he was screaming something because he wasn't elected to this state Senate seat. And what happened is, see, it was a white guy that that ended up. He was the Democratic nominee, but I think it was the Republican guy that got the position. And from what I hear is that the city is on the rebound. They're doing better, and it's a lot of these old stank politicians that we put in office. They just ignore us. They take our vote to represent everybody else except for us. And it's going on across this country, and they want to come out and call themselves progress. No, you're not progress because you're not representing us. Because someone called me today, and it was something that was on. They did the commemorative thing for Dr. King on TV, and Raphael was speaking. So they kept asking me to turn to the channel. I said, hold up. So I turned to the channel. Raphael is advocating for comprehensive immigration reform. He's not advocating. This is why I did not vote for that boy. He's not advocating for us. He's advocating for everybody except us. And so I think we're going to have to start calling these people out, we're going to have to start making a hell of a lot of noise so they would understand we're not backing you. We're not supporting you on any level because you're not supporting us. And they want to call themselves a success. No, you're not successful. So this is just going. It was another one that slipped my mind. I was going to give another example of another person another politician who had sold black people out. And but I'm gonna land on that. But Professor, if you have additional information about what went on in Tuskegee with that the former mayor Johnny Ford, if you can share that with us, I'd appreciate it. And I land.
All right, appreciate that. Original. Let me go ahead and get to Marcel, Professor, and Deonta. Go ahead, Marcel.
Yeah, so we keep talking about candidates that are no good. Obviously, I know that. That's why I'm running for office, because I keep seeing other groups who these no good candidates treat real well, except ours. So my thing is, I have seen my entire life, and the data bears this out. Some of y'all will have me thinking that Black Americans are just sitting around on the porch, smoking, drinking, and doing nothing. Black Americans have been doing every single thing that all of these LLC Twitter people come and tell us about starting business cooperatives. We've tried to do that, and the reason these things don't work out is because we don't have the wealth to do it, or they come up with policies to screw us over. They come up with things like eminent domain. We saw what happened in California with Brucey Beach. That stuff still happens. They still will use the government to take land from Black Americans when they're developing it, when they're operating it. They've already shown that when Black Americans have perfect credit, who have paid their bills on time forever, they are still more likely to get denied for a loan. So this whole thing about us needing to do this, do that, we've done everything that any group in America could possibly do. We've done it the best. We've beaten the best. It ain't nothing about what we need to do. It's about what needs to be done for us. And we need to have the candidates do it for us. Y'all keep talking about politics, and then I'm talking about going for these sorry-ass people like Clive Byrne and Cory Booker and Hakeem Jeffries. I'm talking about not voting. I'm talking about running. Us running for office and us becoming the candidates. We have enough money to finance our candidates. There's a guy in New Jersey who won his race. He just spent $350, and he won his race. There are candidates who have beat other candidates that outspent them by hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions, and they won. Not because they had the most money, but because they had the most support. It is a hard fight, but it doesn't have to be as hard of a fight if we got off our asses and we ran for office and we supported the people who did. Then we will get the policies that will give us the wealth to build these cooperatives, to buy this land, to start the housing developments. And not only will we be able to get these businesses in Black Wall Street back, this time, when they try to come after them, like they tried to do in Nathan, Tennessee, we will have the political power to say, oh, no, you won't. We're not going to let that happen. Because we don't want to run for office, and we don't want to sit back and say what we're not going to do, what we should do. We've been doing it already. The same thing happens. And by the way, no one was as apolitical as me. I didn't care about politics, didn't like it, didn't trust it, didn't see what good it was. Until I saw other groups who saw the good in it and saw the stuff they got. We are the only group that will see something that works for everyone else, and we can do it ourselves. We're the ones deserving of it, and we will argue against it in the face. And 5 years later, we're even in a worse position, crying and saying what we gonna do, when what we need to do is right in front of us. Because there are never any other answers that are offered that we haven't tried yet. Start cooperatives. Our people are the originators of cooperatives. Start doing group economics. Our people are the originators of group economics. Vote in your local elections. Black Americans have outvoted every other group except white Americans since we got the full right to vote. And we were growing faster in voting than white Americans ever. We were going out of voter engagement, we're going faster than any other group, but we were the second most engaged group when it comes to voting. We've been doing that. The only thing we haven't tried yet is what I am saying. Us becoming the candidates and us supporting our candidates who are running on a platform for us. Obviously, if we don't do that, the only candidates we're going to have are these black faces who are nothing but black wasteland that do nothing for us. And we will have no one to blame but ourselves. No other group sits around and lets themselves get ran over like this and doesn't say, not my group, I'm going to stand up for us. No other group but us. Our ancestors would be embarrassed.
All right. Let me go ahead and also give a shout out. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Harish. Thank you for your donation on Cash App as well, too. Professor Deonta and enough, she got her hand back up as well, too. So, Professor, I hope you kind of calmed down by now, but I kind of felt you your little outburst as well too. So what's going on, man?
Keep my wife's name out your money mouth. It's Philly. You know what I'm saying? Philly in the middle.
Hey, look, I'm sorry, my brothers, man. You know, for you, Newstoter and Ray and DJ, man. You know, I always try to respect you guys when I come up in this space, man. And so I apologize. So it's just, I know you, and here's the thing, y'all. Let me just say it this way. When Newstoter says, hey, you have the floor, and here's your time to say your piece, there it is. He gives you time to do this. I mean, the brother allows everybody to come into the space. You give your opinion, and that's it. But this dude, it's just something about what he kept saying that's got to me, y'all. And see, this is what I'm going to speak on right here. We got to stop wasting our people's time with pettiness. See, that was petty. Newstoter had already told the brother, hey, here it is, here's your time, you say your piece. This brother kept coming back with more little pettiness to argue about. It's a waste of time, y'all. Black America is under attack. We don't have time for people to come up in these spaces with that crap like what he was doing. See, that stuff gets to me. It gets to me. I want people to come up in the space like what Marcel is doing. Give me information about data. Give me information about what I need to know. Now, that don't mean that I don't care about what you're trying to say about your, whatever your opinion is. But if Newstoter give you the floor, just say what is on your mind, and don't come with us with this, well, you only gave me half a minute for this. Get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry, y'all. But that stuff is annoying to me, y'all, and that's what I was getting mad about. Okay, so I apologize to all y'all in this space. With that being said, to what original was asking,
Johnny Ford, Mayor Johnny Ford, y'all. This was a mayor of Tuskegee for 32 years. He had been the mayor in Tuskegee. And let me say this too, y'all. He's married to a white woman. But we're not going to knock him for that.
Yes, we are.
Well, we are going to try to just look at this brother as one of our black leaders without the white woman attached to him, okay? But Johnny Ford is one of those leaders that's been Alabama. He was the Alabama Tuskegee mayor for 32 years, and he didn't do anything in Tuskegee at all. Then he became a state senator, and he did that for about 8 years. Then he came back and returned as the Tuskegee mayor, and he still didn't do anything. He also had been investigated for doing, I think it was some type of ethics violation. And once again, he's one of those black faces that was in high places that didn't do anything. We had several of those here in Alabama, like Alvin Holmes. See, y'all probably even heard that name. It was a very popular name here in Montgomery, Alabama for years, Alvin Holmes. He was very much affiliated with Alabama State. This is what we got to also get away from too. It's just electing black faces to high places. We don't need it anymore. We can't afford it. Jim Clyburn is a prime example of that. Marcel has spoken on that. We're talking about a guy that's supposed to be the leader. I'm assuming, Marcel, and correct me if I'm wrong, Clyburn would be considered the leader of the Congressional Black Caucus. I'm assuming, right? Him or maybe
No, he's not. He's never been the leader of the Congressional Black Caucus, but he was the majority whip, which pretty much means like he's the person saying, these are the laws we need to get done, y'all. These are the policies. He had opportunity to do that for a decade or so. Over a decade, he never did it.
Okay. But him, well, I would say between him and Maxine Waters, they would have been considered like senior members of the so-called congressional in regards to the Black Caucus.
A lot of them, Shirley Jackson, a lot of them been there forever.
Yeah. See, and this is what I'm talking about, y'all. We have wasted energy and time on people that we didn't need to give our votes to. Clyburn is a prime example of that. And we have to stop doing that. So let's give our time and our energy to people that are about reparations, about police. Well, let me say this again. Not necessarily police brutality, but at least for police reform in the form of changing or modifying the quantitative or qualitative immunity clause. We need to change that because the police are using this as a way to abuse us. The Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court in 1960 gave them this privilege as a way to abuse us. We know why they did it. We have to get this changed. We have to get this modified. Get it changed back to where it needs to be in favor of us. Which is why we need a good attorney. You know, we know one of our greatest attorneys is now gone, Johnny Cox.
Legislation. It's not done by law. It's done by legislation.
Talking about the qualitative immunity law or qualitative.
That's done by law. That's not done in a courtroom. That's done in Congress, and they can do it.
Okay. Well, how come the Supreme Court gave it to them in the 1960s? That's what I was trying to understand.
They upheld it, but they didn't give it. It's a law.
Okay. They upheld. Okay.
Every person, every black American, every citizen of free speech, do we realize that we write our own legislation? Do we realize that? Is that a
Hey, real quick. Let Professor, nobody's chime in. Let Professor go ahead and finish his point so we can go ahead and get it around the room. We got Deontay, we got enough, we got DJ up. So anybody that wants to speak, just raise your hand and we'll move it around the room. Go ahead, Professor.
Okay, thank you. With Marcel said, y'all, which is the court upheld it. That's how come it went into law. It's because they upheld it. The Congress voted on it. It was upheld. It's in the law. Therefore, this is why the police right now is abusing it. And it's not just the police; it's the prosecutors and all of these folks that get.
It was law already. I'm sorry, I just want to be real quick. It was already a law. The Supreme Court has upheld several things, but it was a law before it went to Supreme Court.
Okay. All right. So it was upheld, and therefore, as we know, now it's being abused every day. And we need to get this changed, y'all. We need to get it modified. And so with that being said, I'm going to land my plane there. Thank you again, Newstoter.
Appreciate that, brother. We got a couple new speakers that I want to go ahead. I want to let the new speakers also who hadn't had a chance to speak, and that's Rella and that's Lisa. I think Lisa, you may have had your hand up first. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Well, I think that what Marcel is talking about is very important because at the end of the day, it's not about how we feel or how we think. It's the law. Until we get the law changed, until the law is changed, we have to get it changed. So for me, I think that we have to buy our own politicians the way the others do. We can't just vote in. We have to buy in. So until that happens, I think that when you use MLK, I think he was pretty much telling us the same thing without having a dream speech. When he started talking about we finna go get our check, he was right. We can't this thing called here law until we can get this change. It don't matter who we put in, black face or white face, until the law itself is being changed. So I think Marcel is spot on that, and I'll land my plane there.
All right, Lisa, thank you. Let me go ahead, Rella. I see you up in the spot. How you doing tonight, Rella?
Hey, Newstoter. Hey, Ray, DJ, everybody in the space. So I'm just going to be brief. Everybody has their preference or opinions. And again, our opinions, everybody got an asshole, excuse my language, and everybody is going to have an opinion. So I think that we also have to make sure that our opinions land in factual data, statistical data. I don't care what your age is. I don't care if you're an elder or if you are a young person, because I wouldn't follow anyone who has never done this work into or out of a burning building. My opinion in listening to the discord and the conversations tonight is that everyone's opinion matters, and that we should definitely be able to take time to actually digest and process what each other is saying, and then apply it to what the population makeup is in your statistical arena or environment. If there are not enough Black people in your environment to actually collectively gather and lobby to get a politician in, you might need to think about moving. If you cannot get the things that you need, even with a large population of Black people in your environment, that means that there is distrust, and that means there is a climate of unsurety and people who are tired and probably dealing with poverty, or you have people who have money and they just don't care. So unless you are able to get into a position where you can get the information, go to town hall meetings, walk around in your neighborhood, and get people to want to come and hear and have a discord with you about what needs to be done, whatever programs you put together will fall on deaf ears. And if you can't even do it in spaces, and we're not even in the same locality with each other, then that tells me the work that needs to be done in the communities is going to be a lot harder for a lot of you. I know this to be true. I saw it firsthand on several campaigns. So I will say that in order to get done with even the minute of projects and to get candidates in office, we have to get to the point where we're having discussions with the people in the community that we live in. And that includes those white people that a lot of people keep hollering about that they don't want to talk to. That includes the Asian people that vote, that folks keep talking about they don't want to talk to. Because we are not the large populations, I'm pretty sure, in the surrounding states that people live in, unless you live in South Carolina in a large district full of black folks, or unless you live down in one of the bayous somewhere. So I think we have to definitely be realistic when we are talking about different places. The other thing is reparations definitely is a must, and that in order to change laws, you need representation. And if you can't get representation, then we need some people that are going to be able to put themselves on to sacrifice their privacy to get up and run, like Marcel said. And again, young people are becoming a hot commodity when it's coming to voting, which is why they're trying to change the age of voting, I believe, from 18 and now 16. And so that's going to be important. Why that's going to be important is because the younger the voter, the easier it is to indoctrinate a generation. So, see, the youth think that they have it in the bag because they are smart and that they are not the elders. But the problem is that you can't give up what was traditionally done and think that you're going to come in and do something totally different because of your age. We are living in a system. And then the elders think that they've done it all and that something else new can't be done. That's not true. Because if you're not showing up at your county meetings, town hall meetings, or at the referendum meetings where the votes for, the votes for information that goes on the voting ballot is listed, then you're not doing your homework either. So I hope that this didn't land in the wrong place as I was saying it, and that everybody received it well. And that Newstoter, this was a great space always, and it's so good to see everybody in the room. And I'll land my plane.
Real quick, Rel, I want to ask you, and just do you feel like Black Americans are better off since the death of MLK?
I actually think that we're worse off today than our ancestors were back then, because we now are further, I think, divided, and on top of that, we're being moved out of second class to fourth class citizens. The other thing is that we don't have full representation. So as Martin Luther King mentioned in the space that I did, in the videos that we were listening to as we were going over them, he kept mentioning America owes one of its oldest people. And we have to get our repair, otherwise America will burn. Essentially, he didn't say it that way. He said it more elegantly, but he didn't lie. He's not lying. We're seeing literally the degeneracy of America being propped up, i.e. the January 6th situation, not being classified for what it is, the soft shoeing in, that was a whole domestic terrorist attack. We're seeing how money is literally being funneled yet again, billions of dollars that was being funneled then, because Martin Luther King mentioned how the United States had been sending billions of dollars to foreign aid, and they're still doing the same thing. Nothing's changed. So that means that the people who actually control positions in government also have not done their due diligence even to take care of the least of these. They're poor whites. They don't even care about them. So at the end of the day, Martin Luther King Jr. was right, and we are worse off than we were back then. So that's my opinion out of my asshole. Excuse my language. Okay.
Okay, well, I never heard you talk like this tonight. So everybody's got the potty mouth tonight going on. But let me go ahead and I'm gonna kick it to Deonta. Enough. Uh, DJ, I know you had your hand up, but I know you kind of come and go whenever you want to. Label and Black Native, and Lisa, I see you got your hand back up, so you'll be after Black Native. Go ahead, Deonta.
Yeah, so I kind of want to bring it back to what Marcel was saying about supporting our political candidates and understanding the necessary monies that will go into that. Just for Marcel alone, he would have to be raising 125,000 plus a month. That's just one candidate, and we all know that we're not going to be impactful in making necessary changes with one candidate. So we're looking at supporting 30 different candidates across the nation, all needing at least 125,000 a month plus from the economic infrastructure of the Black community to support them, to push them, and move them forward. That's what I'm looking at. I'm saying that when we look at the economic infrastructure of American colonies, many of them were financed. They didn't come here broke. They didn't come here without nothing. They were financed. They had ships. They had supplies. They had goods. They had a lot of financing that happened beforehand. And even after they got here, money and resources and goods were still being sent to them from their financing. The English colonies, the British Crown, other major financing marquees, and all of that was supporting certain individuals and groups so that they could be successful in colonizing America. This is what I'm talking about when I say we need to focus on our economic infrastructure. We need to be taking those dollars that we need to get to our candidates and put that into business. Marcel said that what we've done is that we're doing collective economics, but in reality, we really haven't.
Yes, we have.
Over 96% of Black businesses are sole proprietorship, which means they do not create jobs.
Because we don't have the wealth.
That's not a collective. They are not creating jobs. So if you have 96% of Black businesses don't actually employ a number of Black people in their community, then that's where we have the problem. That's not just economic. That's not collectivism. So we need to start looking, okay, well, what industry can we as Black people get into that we can create jobs for our community? Let's talk about supply chain and logistics. One of the major trucking companies, the supply chain and distribution companies, we say those are Black-owned trucks. Those are Black-owned warehousing and manufacturing companies. These are industries Black people are already working in, already building skills and talent and resources. That's what I mean when I say that we hadn't even tapped into what we have available to us just as a people. Because, like I say, if 98% of Black businesses are also proprietors, that means that we're not creating businesses within the necessary industry to propel us forward as a community and as a people. If we take that, you know what we can do with $125,000 a month? I can buy four quadruplexes that will earn at least 25,000 a year. Four quadruplexes. Now let's say we're taking that, we're doing it and we do that every month. We buy four new quadruplexes as a community with $125,000. Now we're creating income because one, we're providing homes in our community. That's what a lot of us spend our money on rent. Now we're getting that rent dollars. Now we're taking that rent dollars and we're recycling it back into, well, you know what? This brothers and sisters, they do manufacturing. They got good products. They make their own hair care products. They make their own soap. They make their own candles. Why don't we start a community manufacturing company where we're going to take their products and make them on a large scale? And we're going to take, again, our community who are already working in manufacturing, logistics, supply chain, take them and hire them to work in those businesses. That's what I'm talking about when we're looking at the economic infrastructure. It's really, truly not there for Black people to support our candidates in the way that they're going to need support. They are in a very highly competitive market and they need millions of dollars in support. Now, we can start looking at a smaller local level community, even with them. Like, I'm talking to my county chair. she was saying, man, we probably spend about $80,000 on our campus. They need about $80,000 annually from the community to raise those dollars for support. How many black businesses are coming forward to support those candidates? She's like, well, that's not a lot because again, like I say, most of the black businesses and black infrastructure are living day to day. They are working at their jobs as sole proprietors. They don't have employees, so they're not able to scale up and do the things they need to do. There's so many other areas that that we have to learn about. We have to build cooperative economics and really explain what that means and what that looks like. It's not about just building a job. It's about understanding the industry that we need to own and build those industries. Cooperative economics is just not me going to business with black people and saying, I support you, I'm going to give to you. No, it's actually having a strategic plan on what industry can we as black people take in our local community, in our state community, and in our national community that really cause and create jobs. And for a lot of that, we don't need politicians. I'm just being real. I'm not saying that that's not important. I'm saying we don't need politicians to do that. We can say, well, they can only do this. They'll just destroy our neighborhoods like they did before. They'll just do this. It's like, look, at those times and in those places, it was a wild, wild west, baby. They could do a lot of things then that they can't get away with now. Like, we just act like black people are just going to sit back and do nothing and watch as a lot of that stuff gets destroyed. Like, I'm just being real and understanding that. It's like, man, we are not the same people that we was back then. We had a whole different mindset on what we wanted to do and what we wanted to accomplish and how that could be done. So I'm not afraid of that. I think it's something like, when you have an issue with eminent domain, you know what you can do? Create a neighborhood coalition, which is a nonprofit organization that is public that can actually dictate what gets built in what community. And the government itself can't just decide what's going to be built because it's already a nonprofit public organization working for the interests and impact of the community. So when you're looking at these kind of things, there's a lot of law changes that has happened. There's a lot that we need to know about civic law and civically on how to engage and support ourselves, how to protect our assets and our resources after we create them. So I'm not saying like
yes, you are. You are speaking against it. You are speaking against it, and you are wrong.
Real quick, Marcel, let him go. Yeah, let him go ahead and finish up, Marcel. Deonta, go ahead and get to your point because we got a couple. We got a new speaker up here. I also want to hear from as well too. So go ahead and let's go ahead and try to get it around the room as quick as possible, y'all.
Yes, sir. I live my plan, and like I said again, I'm not saying that politics is not important, but I'm saying that there's going to be a lot, hundreds of millions of dollars going to come into supporting Marcel.
Can I get 45 seconds, please, to respond to this?
Yeah, Marcel, let him finish his point real quick. Go ahead, Deonta.
So what I'm saying is, all I'm saying is the millions that it would take for us to build a new candidate, we could be taking that money, investing in our economic infrastructure within our community, creating jobs in industries and taking over niches, not the whole industry, just niches within those industries. I'm with the brother Jordan strategy. He said that we need to migrate to where when we do have politicians, it's effective. We need to have complete control of county, not just having representatives all across the nation, having county at least at minimum.
Okay, real quick, Marcel. I'm gonna give you 45 seconds, and then Enough is actually her go. So let me go ahead and let you go real quick, and then I'm gonna let Enough go ahead.
45 seconds. Okay, again, in California, Black Americans who had money tried to buy some area to start business, and the government got there and told them, hell no. That's policy. You talk about some $105,000 buying for a quadruplex, whatever the hell that is. You can get policies in power, and you can own quadruplexes from here to damn infinity with the right policies. That's how Koreans have control over the hair industry, because the government gave it to them. So you talk about having a niche, you can own the whole damn industry with the right policies. Thirdly, it only costs $5 for just 21,000 people. It's $105,000. If you do $10, you can give $105,000 to another candidate. If you do $15, $105,000 to another candidate. We can support our candidate and stop acting like the candidate with the most money wins. When that has been shown time and time again, that does not happen. It's the candidate with the most votes and the most support that wins. That's the candidate that wins. Y'all are the reason why we're not progressing.
Okay. Marcel, appreciate it. Enough. Go ahead, and we're gonna go enough, and then we got a new speaker, Michael. I want to hear from Michael, and we'll get to Label, Black Native, Lisa, and Rella. So go ahead, enough.
So I'm just gonna say this, and then this is just my opinion, okay? So when it comes to money and politics and people trying to get into office, money does money. They got PACs behind them. They have companies behind them. We have to stop acting like we stupid, like we just got money, like we just gonna be able to put fucking politicians in office. We don't got it like that, because if we had it like that, motherfuckers would have been getting 26 years before I fucking got here. Before I even got here, you motherfuckers would have did it, and you didn't do it. So let's stop acting like we just got money like that. We don't got it, Marcel. We don't. So we're going to have to find a way.
Okay, one person at a time, y'all. Let Enough go ahead and say what she's got to say. Everybody chill out, relax. It's just a conversation, y'all. So it's nothing to really get all uptight about. Let's just go ahead and keep the dialogue. The space is going.
We had the money.
Thank you. Like, let's go ahead.
Y'all hard-headed, man.
Yeah, one person at a time. Marcel, it's enough. It's Enough's turn. Let her go ahead and get hers in, and so we can move around the room as well. So go ahead, Enough.
Hey, hold on a minute. In the future, right? They're going to be our folks listening to these spaces like a time capsule, and y'all going to be sounding real foolish, and they're not going to want to be hearing the rhetoric, yo. So don't make yourself sound like a fool. We're trying to get your point across. This is just for everybody, you know what I mean? Go ahead, Enough.
Thank you very much, okay? At the end of the day, if we could have got politicians, which we did get politicians by voting, right? We just didn't have the money to back them. Somebody else came in and they backed them with their money. We don't have the money, okay? You're going up against the guy that you're going up against, Marcel. We don't have the money to combat him. We don't. We don't. It don't matter who. You literally would have to go outside of our race to find somebody else to give you the money to actually go against this man. This man has been in office for how long, Marcel? We have to be honest, and we can't keep playing games and acting naive. I feel like we acting stupid, like we just have the money. We don't have millions of dollars. I don't have $1 million. I give what I can to you, but I don't have it like that, and nobody in this room got it like that. You understand what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is, if we have to find a way to get the money for you, I'm not saying that we can't get the money, but we do have to find a way. So listening to what he is saying that we can do to actually get you the money so that you can win, Marcel, we are going to have to look at other ways, because there's not a lot of people that's giving. There's people that don't. A lot of people don't even know that you run. That's all I'm saying, Marcel. Nobody is trying to say that you'll never win or anything like that. I'm saying we have to find the money. We have to find the money to help you win, because it is money, Marcel. You need it. It is money at the end of the day, and that is why we need reparations so bad. So you have to look at that. So that's all I'm saying. But I'll end there. Thank you.
Okay, let me go ahead and get to Michael. I know you first time speaker tonight, so go ahead and unmute your mic.
What's going on, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, what's happening, everybody? And peace and love, and everybody is on track. I continue to do the same thing and say similar stuff over and over again, because there's just one set of solutions. But involved in that set of solutions is the requirement for us to respect each other's section of battle. And because the thing is, at the end of the day, we're going to have to respect each other. Just like the white supremacists respect each other, they respect each other in their government and their operations and their movement. We're going to have to actually respect each other's word, and not because we're elected officials, it's because we're freedom fighters. So if they can easily get us to, infight, that's they're winning. So the thing is, when we're talking about money, I believe we have the money. But the thing is, what we need to do is define what winning is, and that has to be explained to the people. The winning is the influence of the people. And once you can influence the people, then the people will do will work with the candidates and support them consistently. So that's a culture that needs to be built, and that's going to take organization. And then also with the brother, what he was talking about with the business, there's no conflict there. So we have to our best to stop trying to, even if there is a little conflict, deal with it civilly, because that right there actually destroys, just like the brother said before, is that people are listening to these conversations like time capsules. That actually destroys, the influence that we can have over certain sectors, because once we get emotional, even if we're saying true and factual points, the emotion is going to mask the willingness of people to want to help. Some people, I should say. So it's just like these are just skills that we need to learn. The bottom line is we need politics, we need this. All of that stuff can be done at the same time. And it's not an either or thing. We got trillions of dollars that we're spending. We need a business sector to compete for that money and then give us strategies that we can support. And then, of course, we need the political sector to go ahead and see how we can organize people. I like the idea of taking over, counties and towns and people, locating themselves within a certain, area if possible, and then having meetings in real life so that we can actually build a community. So those things take time, but the number one cultural part, we're going to have to try to respect each other's agendas, especially if they're in line with the overall agenda. So, that's the only thing I would say. That's key.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Let me go ahead and get to I see we got new speaker Trouble. Let me go ahead and get the Trouble real quick. Trouble, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, Newstoter, how you doing tonight, brother?
How you doing, sister?
Doing all right. Shout out to the group, Ray, DJ, Rella, Marcel, everybody up in the cut, Professor, Original.
Trouble. Marcel done started more trouble than you did. He ran off all the damn. He running off all the damn young people.
Shit. Hey, run on, Marcel, run on. Listen. Y'all done got my mind twisted and bent up in this cut because it's been so many different topics that have been hit on. But the last brother that just spoke pretty much said where the direction I was taking it in, where it's not a one or other thing. We need both. We need political power. We need businesses. We need collective thought, and we need collective unity to make all of these things happen. We need to stop acting like we don't have the money. The money is absolutely there, but it's not just money we need boots on the ground, and we need people to get their heads out of the clouds. We need people to stop acting like, oh, well, back in the days, y'all didn't do A, B, and C, so we can't trust you today. That's a sorry-ass excuse, and if that's the one you're leaning on, you have no intentions of doing anything worthwhile in the future. When it comes to are we better off today than we were back then is a hard question to ask, because to a certain degree, I feel like we'll never know. In another sense, I feel like what was supposed to happen did happen, and I'm the type of person that believes everything happens for a reason. Had we stayed together collectively in our own spaces, rather than be integrated with these demonic demons, would they have Black Wall Street everything that we tried to do? Like what they have done to us, what they did to the enclaves of Black Wall Streets that we've already had. We'll never know the answers to these things. We could have stayed together as a family unit, but anytime we make headways on our own, they find a way to sabotage it. They always have. And for the foreseeable future, as long as this is his kingdom, he always will. So that's a hard question to ask. On one hand, I feel like for certain individuals on an individual level, there's always people who have made some headways. We've made some headways, but as a collective, we are getting better than we was back then. Y'all know I'm generally on the road and in traffic when these spaces start, and that's where I was when you all started. That's why I'm coming in here late, just made it home. But I stopped at a few stores and was listening inside, and I got irritated because I had a different thought but then it brought me all the way back because what I realized is these stores is filled up with all of our people. And I was in the college district where a lot of the colonizers' children was, but my people spent more time watching me inside the stores than they did the colonizers' children. So one of the people sat back and perched her ass up on the register as I was at the self-check to watch me. She literally stopped helping the colonizer's child to come and watch me. So as I'm listening to the space, I'm thinking, my God, we are not better off than we was back then, because maybe even back then we would have known to watch the colonizer's child and not our own people. I've been to the store a million times, but you need to watch me. Where is our thought process at? We need to figure out the difference between then and the difference between now and figure out where it is we're going. Where are we going? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? And if we're not actively working towards that, if we're sitting outside of these spaces just arguing with each other about how to get there, we're never going to get there. There is more than one way to skin a goddamn cat. And if you don't want to be involved on the political side, then get your ass involved on the business side. And if you can't be involved in the business side, then get your ass involved in the political side. And if you can't be involved either way, then go sit your ass back in the corner and sit there. Sit there and eat your food and be quiet. Either you're going to help us move or you're going to just sit back being a hating ass hater with nothing to contribute. And we don't need that. What we need is people who are willing to come up with some ideas. Listen, everybody got their own path. It's not meant for all of us to be in a political space. It's not meant for everybody to be a reparationist. It's not meant for everybody to own their own business. We can't have all of these chiefs and no Indians. Somebody got to be the worker bee.
Thank you.
You know, we gotta figure it out and stop trying to make it seem like it's a one or a other type thing. It's not. My path is not. It's not your path. I may not can do what Rella do. Rella speaks eloquently. She calms me down.
Not tonight. You know, these folks done had me on 20 since I.
She was in cussing trouble.
I almost pulled out my belt. I said,
the A-word 3 times, yo.
They need a whooping. I said, where is my belt? No.
You did good because you came in and you touched on the subject when it comes to the elders versus the youth. And you said it more eloquently than I was. I meant to raise my hand as I was driving, but I was going to come in like a train wreck. So I'm glad you put it the way that you put it. I'm not going to take up too much time. I love y'all. I hope we can find a way to collectively move forward. We have to figure this thing out. But please remember, everybody can't do everything, but do what it is you can, and stop trying to make it seem like we can't move forward and we can't get shit done. And my God, stop going back into the past with what wasn't done. One thing we have now that we didn't have then is collective knowledge of what worked and what didn't work. So if there's nothing else, at least what our elders wasn't able to do yesterday, y'all should be trying to figure it out and do it today. And if you want young voices heard, then goddamn it, be the young voice and make it heard. Stop trying to fix our elders. That's all.
Hey, Trouble.
No, my bad, Professor. Real quick, y'all, Trouble. I'm gonna let you go ahead and shoot it, but we gonna on our next few speakers, we're gonna do it by 2 minutes because we're gonna be closing this space out. We've been going a little over 3 hours, so we're gonna get ready to close the space out in a little bit. So, Trouble, I'll let you go ahead and land. And if our speakers, I think we got Label, Black Native. She's not up here. She must have left. We got Lisa. We got Rella. Marcel, I know you did have your hand up. I don't know if you still want to speak as well, but those will be our last speakers for the night. We're gonna do it 2 minutes, and then we're gonna go ahead and close the space out for the night.
Hey, it's a new speaker up here, Michael.
I'm sorry.
Michael already spoke though, so he gonna go towards the end because he just raised his hand up. But I'm sorry, Trouble. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry I took so long. I just wanted to get that out. But yo, much love to the group, Professor. I see you there, darling. And you all have a good
Yeah,
time.
I'm just gonna say much love, Trouble. Thank you for saying everything you said. That was what I could have said earlier, but I wanted to cut somebody out. Sorry.
Yes, you did.
All right.
Hey, Professor, keep Newstoter name out your mouth.
Label. I know you want to go ahead, so you got your hand up. So label 2 minutes, and then gonna go on to the next speaker.
Yeah.
You there? You there, label? I don't know. Label might be having some issues. We'll come back to you, label. Let's go kick it to Lisa. Lisa, are you there?
I'm here. One of the things I want to say is that I think everybody has a valid point, but one of the things I want to kick back on is the elder, Martin. I think we've been too filled with he had a dream, but he also had a nightmare. And he said that I think I put my people in a burning house because he did believe in a political system at one time. But at the last 2 years of his lineage of being alive, he understood that he did put us in a burning house. And at the end of the day, I think it's up now for us to figure it out and not argue with each other no more. Because he himself left a blueprint. It's not just that I have a dream speech. It's to put my people in the burning house. And I think we need to go back to that speech. I think that speech has been replicated all over YouTube or whatever when he talked about, what happened, how it happened. At the end of the day, I'm not beating up on nobody's speaker or speakers or whatever because I think that everybody has something to lend to us being on still and plantation. Now, I will always support Marcel. I will always support him. And the reason why I will support him is because where he lives at, that was some of the worst plantations we could ever have. So I would love to start from there. And then we could bring it up to where I'm at, even in New York, Seneca Village. I want all our land back. I want everything back that's owed to us. So at the end of the day, everybody has a way to get out of this. But how can we march on one accord? Because even if I have to look at in the Bible itself, it says until the sticks come together, I can't move. So I will land my plane there.
Okay,
Listen,
thank you.
Here's the thing. Here's what I want to say before I leave. I'm saying this.
Hey, that's you, label talking.
Representatives.
Is that you, label talking? Is that you, label?
Damn, can I get this off though before I leave?
Well, damn, homeboy, I'm asking you a question. Can I get a damn answer from you? I'm asking, was that you speaking? Because I didn't know who was speaking.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, bro, then just say, yeah, that's me. We don't need. Okay.
I got communication problems.
Okay, well, go. Hey, what? I'm gonna help you with the communications. 2 minutes and under. Go ahead.
All right, this is the thing. We need 50 people. That's it. We need 50 people standing on a lineage in each state. That's it. That's all we need. This shit is not as hard or complicated as we're making it. We need 50 people standing on a lineage, pushing the policy about what we standing on as a people. 50 people. One in each state. That's it. We're making this shit hard, you know what I mean? And then we have that viable element. People are viable. We got some people in our movement, in these movements, that are viable. So guess what? We got to get to the ground. Only thing we need is 50 people. That's it. We don't need 1 million motherfuckers in politics. We don't need that. Yeah, we don't need that.
We need 50 people. One from each state. One representative from each state that we standing on, that we support, that we go hard for. That's it. We don't need all this extra shit. A land.
All right, Super Sean. I know you were trying to come up earlier. You back up in the space. Go ahead, 2 minutes, and then we're gonna kick it to Michael. Michael will be the last speaker for the night.
Yo, I'm at work, so please excuse me. I do apologize about that. I'm everybody else talking about that. I believe that we are working. Hey, stop, it's good.
Hey, bro, we can't hear anything you saying. I know you say you're at work, so we'll try to give you a second, but we can't make out anything that you're saying.
But if you guys can look out anything, look at the home ownership rate for non-immigrant Black Americans. Look at the average income for non-immigrant Black Americans. And look at the hits that these politicians have done with Martin Luther King. We're at a point right now where we need to actually do a punishment for having our politicians
Hey, Super Sean, we're gonna have to kind of just move the mic. I'm sorry about that, brother, but we can't. It's really difficult to make out what you're saying. A lot of people saying they can't understand what you're saying. It's muffled and that background noise. So if you can, we'll try to get back to you before we close the space out. But it's just really difficult picking up what you're saying. Let me real quick. Let me go ahead and get to Michael and then Black Native. I see you came back up here. Go ahead, Michael. 2 minutes.
Okay, what's going on? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just wanted to finish off because I forgot to actually answer the question of space. Are Black Americans better off today since MLK death? All right, so of course that's going to depend on your perspective. Physically, no, we're not better off as far as our conditions, but that's actually better than what we were because we've been broken down to a point. Our living conditions from the rich all the way down to, of course, the poor been to it. But we're closer to a foundation of actual truth. It's like we just came out of the matrix and now we're living in the real world. So it doesn't look as good as we thought it should have been back then. That's the reason why we were so eager to integrate as soon as we got a little something. We didn't want to support our own businesses. We didn't want to do the things that we took for granted at that point. But today we see how important those things are. So we're actually at, to me, a better position because once we start building on what's true and we have defense in mind, like you said, the Black Wall Streets, all of the things that we did have, we have the history on record of who the enemy is. So as we start building our communities, as we start building our infrastructures, it shouldn't be so easy to trick us out of our legacy anymore. So I think in that respect we are better off, and it's just building up from there. So that's it. Peace.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Let me go ahead and get to Black Native. Black Native, you will be the last speaker for the night. So go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay, thanks, Newstoter. And this room was an excellent space today. I just was going to speak on Uncle Lori Lightfoot. I don't know if anybody who might be in this space that's from Chicago, but the community, which is predominantly all Black Americans, came together and confronted or addressing Uncle Lori about her allowing Haitian immigrants to move into their community. I saw it today on YouTube. I'm not too familiar, but I'm not familiar at all with Chicago. But we are moving in the right direction. We are saying, hey, hell no. Because before we would have just been okay with it. So, I just wanted to speak on that. I don't know if you knew what was going on in Newstoter with the community coming together against Uncle Lightfoot about her allowing Haitian immigrants to move into their communities. They said, not today, sir, not today, Uncle. And I'll land my plane. Thank you.
No, I didn't see that, sister. Of course, I guess they're trying to make Chicago into a sanctuary city as well too. So I didn't see that exactly. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I've been running around a lot today as well too. So I definitely appreciate that. I'm gonna let the actual co-host go ahead and get a final word in before we close out the space. This has been a good space.
Hey, can I get a couple of words in?
Okay, so now I can hear you better, Super Sean. So go ahead, 2 minutes or less.
All right. First off, as far as the question of the room, we are actually in a drastically detrimental position right now as far as us being better or worse. We are worse. We're at the lowest home ownership since the 50s or 1940s. The income of inequality is higher than it was back then. We don't have any true politicians. And to be honest with you, I believe we need to figure out. I know these politicians are breaking laws. We need to figure out a way to have them prosecuted, all of them, dereliction of duty or something. And Lord knows, you know what I'm saying? Maybe somebody that studies deep in politics may be able to figure some stuff out to where they can be prosecuted. But beyond that, we need, as far as us getting newer politicians that's going to cultivate what we need in our neighborhoods. We need to start off with these people as children when they're starting to go to college. You know what I'm saying? When they're just getting out of college and trying to get their foot in the door to wherever they're going to be at. We need to be backing these people. But anybody in the room, if you guys know a way that we could possibly have these politicians prosecuted or punished, I would love to hear something about that.
Okay, thank you, Super Sean. We appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead to the co-host and let them go ahead and get a final word in before we go ahead and close this space out tonight. Very productive space. I know it was a little bit at times emotional, but I kind of figured it would be. So that's why I made the disclaimer at the beginning, just for everybody, to try to keep it cool as much as possible. Ray, go ahead and unmute your mic if you want to say something to DJ.
Yeah, man, I was gonna say, man, this is the space of 2023. Is the best one you've had so far, man, in my opinion, man. So keep up the good work. A lot of great speakers tonight, man. But I also got to say, man, we had a lot of prison babble tonight. Goodness. First of all, Brother Newstoter, we must internalize factuation on the matter by transmitting the effervescence of the Indonesian proximity in order to segregate the crux of my venereal infection. Like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Well, see, Ray, you don't understand, brother, that will lead to the erection, which goes back to Herschel Walker touchdowns when he was running the rock. See, they all correlate. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what he was trying to say. That's what he's trying to say. They're erected.
And lastly, my brother, I'm just going to say, look at Manport, Oregon. I land my plane.
That brother Ray, you know what I'm saying? Plastic collection plate. You know what I mean? Hey, we agree to disagree. You already all agree to agree, rather. That's what I know I'm saying. It's like Ray was saying, what DJ was saying. But reparations2023.com, reparations2023.com, reparations2023.com. See y'all tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a great space, and thank you to everybody who came out tonight. Very important space about MLK. I know at times we talked about.
Just because I didn't answer the topic to the room. Excuse me. We're worse off by a whole lot, but go ahead though.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to go ahead. I thought about adding some other topics, but I'm glad I didn't because MLK deserved to have his own topic, his own space and whatnot. So I'm glad that we just kept it on this. I know we went to different things, but this all, I guess, played a part in the actual impact and of what's going on since his death, how it's affected us in our community and stuff. So man, just thank y'all for everybody that came out. If you can, go ahead and please retweet this space out. Retweet it out so anybody who didn't actually hear it tonight, they can actually hear it maybe later tonight or tomorrow. So definitely go ahead and retweet the space out to your followers and your listeners so they can get a chance to actually hear this space as well. It was a good space, and I'm glad everybody came out. And, you know, differences of opinions, but nonetheless, you know, everybody for the most part, we showed discipline and stuff like that. And we tried to stay on topic, and we talked about things impacting us in our lives right now, 2023, back from 1968. So I just want to thank everybody who came out to the space tonight, the co-hosts, the speakers, the listeners, everybody who tweeted out, everybody who supported on Cash App. You can still support on Cash App. Remember that Newstoter is the largest Black-owned news curation platform today in America. Our actual Cash App is $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Once again, that is $Newstoter. Also, the Venmo and PayPal is still up in the Jumbotron as well too. So thank you guys. We will have another space tomorrow. If you don't know about the Newstoter space, Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all make sure y'all catch us. If you're not following Newstoter in the space, go ahead and follow us. Go ahead so we can keep you up to date on the new content that's coming out across Black America daily. So definitely do that. DJ, you had something to say before I end up closing it?
No, all good. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't know who said that, but
No, that was me.
Oh,
that was me, bro. Go ahead. Yeah, it's all good. Go ahead.
Nah, go ahead. You got something to say before I close it out?
Oh, I got my hand up. Nah, go ahead. My bad. Damn. Like, it's Twitter glitching. I didn't even know I raised my hand, but go ahead, though.
Okay, but now that's pretty much it, y'all. Tomorrow we will have another Twitter space, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So y'all just check the notifications, check it out when we send it. And if you can, join us. If not, catch the replay of it. So until then, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Everybody be safe. Have a good night. Happy MLK Day as well.
Happy MLK Day, everybody.
Happy birthday, Martin Luther King. Happy MLK Day.